So, on to this week's Street Talk. I've been saying it. I enjoyed this week. Did you enjoy this week? Did it tickle your enjoyment buds? I don't know what I'm talking about the same way as it did me.
Yeah, I think so. I think you enjoyed it more than I did, but I thought it was good.
I think what struck me the most, and no disrespect to anyone in these other stories, but I kind of appreciated the break from all the police stuff. You know, the Carla and Swain and Dee Dee. I don't think Swain and Carla appeared at all. We had a few Dee Dee appearances, and Kit was in it a little bit, but it didn't feel like a police show this week, did it?
Yeah, I mean, Carla and Swain, like the relationship stuff, that's a lot more interesting than, oh, we can't be together because of Betsy and the police, and you knocked a kid over, and
Yeah,
I've got an investigation going on, and
yeah, exactly.
it's
But
all a bit samey.
it does feel a little bit samey, and we have seen a lot of those characters recently. I've always say that if you put a group of characters together in a week that are particular favourites of mine, or ones that have been going back on the show a long way, ones that I've got a long personal connection to, it feels like, then I'm generally going to like the week a lot more. And this week we had loads of Platt action. We had Battersbys, we had Nick, we had well, they were the main ones.
Well,
Les Battersby references coming out the kazoo.
there were loads of those. And I know that we spoke last week about the fact that Bruce Jones had sort of been not fired by email, but because it wasn't in the show, that there didn't seem like there was much of an opportunity for him to return. But he had been told via email that he wasn't going to be back in the show.
Yeah.
And Vicky Entwistle, who played Janice,
Yeah.
was very critical and protective of him, as you'd expect her to be, because I think she's a very loyal friend to some of the cast members that she was very close to.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that I think that Les Battersby has got one of the best send-offs for a character who hasn't been in the show for a long time.
I can't think of anybody.
I'm racking my brain to think of someone who's been given even people that are in the show haven't had as good a send off as he.
Oh no, you mentioned Robert earlier to me when we were talking.
Robert
didn't
Preston
you?
was shot at Christmas and he didn't even have a funeral.
No,
and we didn't get to see Les's funeral, but we did get to see his. We've seen so many scenes of people reminiscing. We've had will readings, we've had wakes, we've had buffets, we've had sad breakfast moments. We've had
character name drops.
We've had the classic standing outside waiting for the taxi to come to pick you up to go to the funeral stories.
Yeah,
and it is all part of Leanne using this as revenge a little bit. But goodness me, for a character that I don't know. I think it was tempting to say, oh, they're horrible, Coronation Street. They've just dumped him like. He means nothing and the legacies have been ruined or whatever. But no, I don't think so at all. That we even got to see a photo of him.
Yeah.
And it was so. It got to the point where it was so pronounced that I was beginning to wonder, if you don't know who this guy is, you haven't been watching it for that long, what are you thinking about all of this? Is this interesting to people who haven't seen him when he was on the show? I think it was, but I would be interested to know, if you are a viewer who doesn't know Les Battersby and only really recognises him from clip shows or something, what did you think about how much they were talking about him? Was it interesting to you, or was it too in group?
I can imagine for some people it might have been like the mentioning of Teresa the turkey getting hit by the car, although that is a proper iconic clip show special, isn't it? I mean, even Les Battersby's, when we had our friend Rachel around on Monday and we were saying, oh, Les Battersby's died, and she she's only just been watching Corrie with us the last year and a half or so, and she's like, oh, I know Les Battersby. So I think that because he is from that bit of a golden era, the late 90s, I think he is well known.
I think the word notorious.
Yeah, notorious is good. Notorious is good. But so many big characters have had off-screen deaths, and it's felt like it served 30 seconds worth of story. Like when and it's felt like a total waste. Like Kirsty Soames is a big one. So why did they kill her off? Yeah, lots of people aren't very happy that they killed off Natasha, and that was an on-screen one. But yeah, often characters' deaths just aren't mentioned, but they've given it some proper time, and yeah, maybe in 2 weeks' time it'll all tie up to nothing, but it actually feels like
A proper story.
it's a proper story, and there's still the mystery of how he died. We were talking last week on the podcast about, oh yeah, but they're dancing around it. They probably haven't even decided how they kill him off. But actually, we learned a lot more about this week, and it's not like, oh, he just had an accident at the abattoir. It's there's a mystery here.
We know that it was an abattoir, which you didn't know before.
Yeah.
So my imagination's running riot. I don't know about yours.
I just imagine him like slipping into the meat grinder and coming out like mince.
Well, yeah, the insinuation is that something incredibly sinister and possibly easily preventable has happened to him, because the company seems to be
a little shifty about revealing or divulging the details about it.
Anyway, we are getting ahead of ourselves.
We are getting ahead about ourselves.
One thing I just wanted to say is that one of the people that wrote today's episode, which is Friday's episode, the second half, was Joe Parkinson wrote it.
Oh, was it? Today was the day. Yeah. I didn't even notice on screen. That's amazing.
Yeah, there we go. And you like that? And that, Dev with his German sausages.
Yeah, he did the second half, did he? Oh, brilliant. That was fantastic. Yeah, Joe Parkinson.
You really enjoyed that episode, and we weren't primed to enjoy it, because, we feel loyalty to lovely Joe.
Yeah. He's been on the storylines team, or he's been head story. No, he's not. He's a story producer. No, don't call him storyliner.
Producer, story editor man. Who does?
It's terrible. I always get his job title wrong. He's going to be.
Is he the head producer of ITV?
I'm really, really sorry, Joe, and I don't know whether you're going to be listening to this, because I know you sometimes do listen to the podcast, and you may well like to know what we thought about today's episode. Story editor, and then story liner, maybe story producer he's been, but now he's stepped down from that role.
Storyline.
Yes, and he's doing episodes.
Yeah, he's a writer now.
Yeah, but he told us a while back that he had an episode, and I'd completely forgotten it. It left my head that it was today. Oh, that's made me like it even more.
There we
go.
And
you can tell that I'm not biased, because I didn't spot his name coming up at the credits at the beginning.
It's all
brilliant.
True.
Fantastic.
We don't make stuff up. We don't lie about stuff and say we like it when we don't.
No,
you guys know
really
this by
try
now.
not to. Oh, lovely. So yeah, I've with the storylines this week, there has been a bit of a jumble and sort of stories segueing into other ones and spinning off. So it's been really difficult to separate them off into separate ones. But I'm going to start off with the Leanne, Toya and Nick one. Is this an obvious or not at all obvious reference? Revenge of the Sis?
Yeah.
Is that a Star Wars reference?
Sith.
Yes, good. Revenge of the Sis. Leanne, amazing. Just what I wanted this week. Then we had a little bit more the Leslie storyline, which is obviously the same story, but we'll talk about how it's affected the Battersbys and Nick first and all that romance stuff, and then we'll say what's going on with Chesney, just to kind of tie it up. Then we had got another story, which is, it's basically, there seems to be a bit of a new Weatherfield washing machine in town with Daisy, Daniel, Kit, Bethany, who else is in there? And everyone's a little bit like, who's going to be going out with who's next? And today Kit threw his hat into the ring. Threw his pants into the ring. And so we'll kind of jumbled all those together. So all the stuff with Daisy and Kit getting together, I called it. I thought they were going to be making up, so I originally called it Makeup Kit, which is a thing. But they kind of made it up, then fell out, so it's Makeup and Fallout Kit, which is a terrible storyline title. But we did also have more of the plastic surgery story, which is also I've been loving this week. I know, Debbie Webster, you sly thing. Then we have got everything with Shona and David. Platts split, I've called it at the moment.
What does that mean?
Nothing. It just kind of the words sound the same. Terrible. But I love that. Brilliant, giving Shona centre stage with David as well. Just my cup of tea. And then I called the story with Alia getting together with Adam. The Alia bird catches the worm, because he is a bit of a worm, isn't he? That Adam.
He is a bit, but at least he wasn't a.
At least he wasn't
a dog.
No, I really liked that in today's episode, how they led you down one path. I was like, no, Adam, Shona, how could you? Adam Barlow, that dirty dog. I can understand. And then it was like, no.
It's even worse.
Yeah, it's Kit. And that was actually worse, because Kit is the biggest sleazebag on the street. I had Shona in higher regard than that. I didn't think that she would. I know she's had a tough time, but come on, Shona.
Look, I gotta respect Kit for his troublemaking abilities. He's a stirrer, isn't he?
He is a massive stirrer.
He's like totally out for himself at all times.
Yeah. Must have been quite a change for Shona going from little David to massive Kit.
Climbing all over him.
She probably didn't know where to put herself. Anyway, would you like to? Do you want to do the Toya and Les and Leanne stuff? Because I know that's been quite enjoyable for you this week. I know that
there was a bit of experimental stuff on Wednesday that I know that some people got on with and some people didn't. And I definitely saw some criticism of this.
Yeah.
And I do get the impression...
The editing, you mean? The
Leanne having a fantasy of killing Nick with some fairy lights, which was very festive.
Did it bother you?
No, but the thing about it is, I'm going to say, again, this is the beginning of, Kate Brooks as producer.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it's tough to, start off and you got to ease yourself in gently. But in other ways, you've got to also set your stall out, haven't you? And say, this is what I'm about. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing some bits here that I feel are going to be hallmarks of Kate Brooks's life as producer on Coronation Street, and those things are, I think, a bit more of a focus on characters and how they interact with each other based on their history and their personalities.
I really hope so. I mean, having Chesney together with Toya and Leanne,
putting those together and talking about the family links and things, and really kind of boosting the idea of the sisters at war stuff. That's another really good thing. The stuff with all the friends in the cafe.
Yeah, I
friendship groups.
As much as I didn't particularly enjoy those four together, and it seemed a bit superfluous. And I know that that's the sort of thing we wanted, but they're not some of my favourite characters. The fact that they kind of ended it with, I can't remember what they said, like, "Oh, we're the new friends group" or something, and
you were in a friends group.
Yeah, and is that a way of Kate Brooks saying, we're going to have friends now? Has she listened to the fans all these years going, why does nobody have any friends?
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe.
Because, look, it was funny the first maybe 4 or 5 times, but there's only so many times I can hear about Platt Chat.
Oh my gosh, I'm so over Platt Chat.
I'm kind of over it now.
It's like, it's a funny name.
But it's not funny now. Sorry, it just maybe it will become funny again in the future, but at the moment it's just kind of making me groan.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's my first reflection, and again, it's not necessarily fair really to take the very, very beginnings of somebody's tenure and say this is what they're about.
No.
Second, but I'm still going to do it anyway. Because why not? Because I'm being positive here. The thing that may be not so positive for other people is this experimental stuff.
But that's not necessarily a Kate Brooks hallmark, is it? Because we've been having that since...
I don't think we've seen a fantasy.
We haven't, but it's all along the same lines as the dreams and the flashbacks. There is a distinctive
difference between a fantasy or a reverie and a flashback, a dream... Or what else is there?
What's flash forward? What's the difference for you?
Because it's something that didn't happen. No,
but your dreams are things that didn't happen.
Yeah, but a dream is something you don't control. A fantasy is your because we've always said one of the things I've always said about soaps that make it difficult is that unless the character is talking to somebody else, you don't know what they're thinking. And they did do that really brilliant episode where we got Paul's narration from his head, which is the first and only time they've done that on Coronation Street, because they had to, because he couldn't speak. And so we didn't know what he was thinking, but it was a very interesting idea because, like I said, you don't know what they're thinking. This is like a directly tapping into Leanne's sick, twisted fantasy about what she wanted to happen to Nick. And I am thinking that perhaps Kate Brooks might be offering us different ways of telling stories that we might not be used to. And I know that there's a lot of resistance, and we've certainly been quite resistant ourselves.
I mean, this is clear.
We didn't even music over top of stuff.
I think I still hate that.
I think
and
I do too.
And it's Christmas coming in 3 weeks, and I'm
There
just
will be
waiting
a
for another
Christmas
montage at the beginning. With so maybe if Kate Brooks can say no, we're not going to have a Christmas montage in this week's Christmas show, then fantastic. She's really made her mark.
I don't
but,
know.
I'm
not gonna hold her to
I
that.
think from what we've seen, she's only been credited for the past 2-3 weeks or so.
Not even a month, I don't think.
No, from what we've seen, if you were hoping that all the experimental editing was going to go away, I think this is enough to prove it's not
at all.
because she could have come in and said, we're not bloody doing that anymore.
No.
But the fact that she's not, for better or worse...
It really was, to me, a big signal, a big statement on that Wednesday episode to say, this is going to carry on.
Yeah, I mean, we just had Dee Dee's dream with Joel at the scan the other week as well, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, that you see how that's different from what Leanne...
Yeah, I guess so. And then obviously all the flashbacks in her very first episode.
Are almost always something that a character is scared of in Coronation Street.
Yeah.
They're almost always a negative thing to kind of create content for a trailer. Or you remember Daisy's dream?
Before the wedding,
married to Daniel, and that was like, oh, isn't it lovely? Oh, she's wearing her wedding dress. She looks great. And then Justin comes out and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a time in Coronation Street where somebody's had a dream and it wasn't horrible.
I think you're right, actually. They're always nightmares,
They're always dramatic.
Aren't they? But
can you imagine if somebody had a dream and it was just them making a cup of tea, but they put orange juice in it instead of milk, but they really liked it.
I just have one episode where Ken's flying through the sky,
naked.
Just zooming around naked,
Flapping.
doing loops, and he's like, "Oh, this is brilliant."
Oh, I love it.
And we're going, "Is this real?" Oh, it's just a Ken dream.
Oh, is this when he did that skydiving?
Oh yeah, they could, couldn't they? So I've said before, I don't know why it is, but I've kind of. It's not even that I've accepted it. I've kind of thought, oh, it can be okay, actually. And when Leanne had her little fantasy on Wednesday...
I thought that was hilarious.
I was kind of thinking, I hope we have some more. And I was a little bit disappointed by the end of the week.
One.
Could we have a series? That could have been a thing, a motif for the episode, couldn't it? Every so often, Nick would be doing something and Leanne would be imagining stabbing him through the chest, or a shark jumping out the sink and swallowing, or the ground opening up and falling into the quicksand.
Do you know
what? They didn't go down that route. But we were still in early days.
I would have really liked it if Leanne had just been standing there at one point smirking, and then he'd been like, "What are you smiling about?" She'd be like, "Just remember that time you stuck in quicksand."
Leanne's been brilliant this week. She's going, let's have a reminder, because we haven't even, we're half an hour into the podcast already. We didn't mention that we saw Rowan again this week. That was it wasn't the best exit.
Are you sure that it wasn't just a dream?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't a dream. I when Rowan left, when must it have been? Early September, mid-September? It was round about when Emrys came on the show, and we thought
that feels like ages
it feels
ago.
like yonks ago. That, I guess, was his big grand exit, even though it didn't feel like it was
I think
as big or grand as it has. I think, but then I knew, because he told me at the time, no, there is going to be a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, so he's been one of the big bads of the year. I know he's not Joel, but is he going to come back and have one last moment of glory and then he gets caught out? But it was literally, no, he's going to sit quietly in court for a bit and maybe say one line. It felt like a real damn squib. And
this is the difficulty too with complaining, as we do often, about things not being realistic, or them taking liberties with stuff, because this, I don't know how realistic this is, but this feels a lot more realistic than he's been caught, next day he's facing justice, and court cases happening, and he's been banged up, and you don't have to worry about him anymore. This feels a bit more realistic in that you had to wait for the hearing, and then he's still not been given a sentence. I don't care now. Yeah. It's unfortunate, and this is the real challenge of doing a soap, because how much can you really? I mean, can you imagine if Coronation Street could do one thing? It would probably be to reduce the amount of time women have to be pregnant for. I would think they would love it if you could just have a baby in 3 months, because that would just
speed up the drama.
So much drama. But some things you can't do, because that would just be ridiculous. But other things maybe we could do, which is not bother with this Rowan scene because it just
Yeah.
felt really anticlimactic for the character, and also for the fact that this storyline was supposed to be one of the
Well,
biggest
yeah.
stories of the year, and it was already kind of farcical. I wish they'd leaned into that a bit more.
The thing is,
also the thing about Amy's money too, like I didn't know we were waiting for that. I thought she'd sorted that out.
well, I kind of forgotten already. Has she got it back? Is she getting any more? I don't know. It felt
We'll
like
find out in the
this
notes.
whole story was swept under the carpet just because it had to be brought up, but it was a bit of an inconvenience. So let's have it over in a few scenes and let's get back to the romance drama, which is still great. And I'm wondering, had they had one of the, because sometimes Corrie court cases can be like whole week long affairs, can't they? Maybe this one didn't need that to be, and maybe if they had focused more on that, it would have got in the way of what I really did want to see this week, which was Leanne's revenge on Nick.
The other thing to think about too is like what we said before about character exits. If they're going to insist on having criminal cases so often in Coronation Street that they've built a proper court set and they've got a whole prison cell system set up that they use regularly, you can't have every single villain either die or end up in a lengthy court trial, because it's going to be boring. The same way that you can't have every character who leaves or dies have a massive funeral and wake and weeping like we've had with Paul and a bit with Les. You just can't, because the way the show works, those things happen so often. It just would be very, very repetitive if you had that all the time. So if this has been sacrificed so that maybe there's a trial in a later date that's going to be more impactful because we haven't just had one for Rowan, maybe that's the reason. Because
I just feel bad for Emrys. That I really loved Rowan as a character. I know not everybody did, but equally I know that a lot of people were fans of Rowan, and I just wanted a little bit more.
The tone of that story never really felt like it knew what it wanted to be.
What I want to know with all this was, what's Willow doing? Throughout the whole of the story, I was kind of waiting for this big unveiling of Willow, and she's the top of the institute.
We never
and
got answers.
She was there pulling all the strings.
What were they doing?
But she made one little appearance on video call. What has happened to the institute?
What's happened
now?
to the institute?
Has it been closed down? Is Willow also in jail, but we just didn't see it because she was been so far removed from the characters that we know? I don't know.
Did Rowan ever believe? Did Willow believe? Does Leanne still believe? What happened to all the support groups?
Yeah.
Because there's apparently really good stuff there. It helped Leanne. It's helped Amy a bit. It just seems very odd to me that it felt like such an intriguing idea, and it's just gone, no.
Well, the Institute's malware circle has been kicked out for the Stoma support group circle, haven't they? Yeah. Literally, on that scene in the bistro, I was not the bistro, Chariot Square, I was waiting for Bethany to get in the middle of the circle and everybody just hurl insults at her.
You made this happen to yourself. It's all your fault. You deserve to have a Stoma.
Yeah. But anyway, look, we must go on and talk about
what
actually happened.
Well, Leanne is kind of hamming up this. Is she hamming it up or not? She is.
I don't know with Leanne this week how much of the upset is genuine and how much is, like you said, hammed up for Nick's sake. Now, surely she is sad that her dad's dead, but she's kind of. She's profiting from her sadness.
I don't think she's ever been so
abusing her sadness.
Apart from Oliver.
To get back at Toya and Nick.
But I also want to give a quick shout out. I know I'm derailing this again to how Coronation Street is dealing with depicting grief at the moment. It feels very well done and really true to life. And with Paul and Gemma and Bernie and Billy, and now this storyline with people, different reactions, like bewildered, like sad, like fond memories, sad memories. And again, like I said, you can't have this with every character who dies. Like, we couldn't have had this with Natasha because nobody really cared about her. And I know that some people really, really like that character, but there's no way that people would have tolerated 2 weeks of people being sad about Natasha.
No, we did
have
that.
Was.
Yeah, we had that scene with Sam, what turned him mute. Yeah. That was really well done.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that Coronation Street's done a good job on this. And Leanne, I think it's a testament also to the quality of the performance in the storyline, because we all know, and we mentioned in the previous section about the character of the weeks, we all know how highly we rate Jane Danson and Georgia Taylor as actors, and Ben Price too. That they've all done a really great a job with the different emotions going through. Like Leanne is just duplicitous but also mourning. Then you've got Toya, who is just slowly losing her mind and getting more and more jealous. And then you've got Nick, who's just like teetering on the brink here. I bet he wish he was swallowed up by a quicksand all those years ago. But Leanne's got her challenge because she's got this court case coming up and she's telling Nick that she's really worried about it.
But you're right, some of it is... Her plan this week is to
undermine Toya and Nick's relationship by
getting lots of hugs.
Trying to suck up to Nick.
Trying to elicit sympathy from Nick. Not because she needs sympathy, but just to make him excruciatingly cringy about it and to make Toya fume, and succeeded magnificently.
I don't think she has any ambition whatsoever for Nick to fall for her. I think she knows that that's a lost cause.
She doesn't want to get back with him.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if some people might think that maybe she's trying to see if she could win him back. She does not want this man anymore.
No.
She's got total ick about him. And so this is all just to get revenge on them both.
But that doesn't mean they won't end up getting back together at the end of this. Perfectly possible.
Perfectly possible. So when Toya comes in and she
Talking of the status quo, as they got quite a shout out this week themselves.
Do you think they're going to get any royalties for that? Or do they have to pay ITV?
Wouldn't it have been funny if status quo had turned up at the bistro?
Oh, I'd be like,
ITV had saved all... It's like, we're getting to the end of the year, we still got a little bit of cash in the coffers. Should we get Francis Rossi or whatever his name is to come in?
Should we get status quo back? Should we get Candice back? No, I can't afford her.
Yeah.
Right, so Toya buzzes up and she's not very impressed to see that Leanne is there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to see the court case. And Amy's on the stand and she is saying that she willingly gave this money for the resource centre, and she doesn't remember who mentioned it. And then Rowan's defence solicitor sort of pushes her to say that it was Leanne who did it, not him. And she says, look, it wasn't Leanne's fault. She's a victim too. She's not the instigator here.
I think what was particularly unusual about the court case, aside from its brevity, or maybe, combined with it, was that all we got to see was, things are looking good for Rowan. How's Leanne going to get out of this? The Rowan's defence has eaten everybody alive. So when the verdict came out that he'd been sent down, it's
based on what?
Yeah, because he was brilliantly smirking through the whole of these scenes, wasn't he?
He got one line, didn't he?
Yeah, one line.
He spent the whole time going, I can act with my eyes.
I did
Shock,
enjoy it.
Surprise, indignation.
Yeah, I just could have done with seeing him panic a little bit. Because we didn't get to see the verdict delivered to him. We didn't get to see him led away in handcuffs. But the fact that we didn't even get to see him sweat one iota on the witness stand is just
it's disappointing.
Yeah, not witness.
We get to see Nick as well. Like, he comes up on the stand and he's cringing because they put this picture of him and Toya kissing.
Yeah.
And this defence lawyer is like, well, Leanne knew about the affair all along, maybe, and she was stringing everyone. And Nick's like, no, Leanne is stupid. Leanne didn't know about this.
I loved Steve in this scene because he'd gone along as a bit of a... he was there to support Amy, of course, yeah. And when this photo of Nick and Toya was flaunted in front of the courtroom, Steve was like, "Whoa, what's this?"
I know Steve was enjoying himself this week.
He was enjoying himself too much.
I don't like being the main character. I quite like just watching other people's lives fall to pieces.
Yeah.
So Nick gets made a bit of a fool of, doesn't he? Really.
Yeah.
Then we have Leanne, and she is like, I didn't know about this affair. I didn't really understand where we had this before. This was used during Carla's story when I think it was, I can't remember which villain.
There's been so many.
Not Frank, the one before him.
Tony Gordon.
Tony Gordon. Is this right? Used her affair with somebody.
With Liam, was it?
To undermine her credibility in a court case, to get away with attacking her, right? So it all fell apart because nobody could trust her because she'd been, which you can say what you want about the morality of that. That's not what I'm bringing it up for. I'm just saying we've already had a sort of situation where somebody's been undermined in court because they were lying about something else. And it just worked so much better before. This kind of didn't. This felt so bitty and like.
Yeah,
it felt like
I agree.
I was trying to do a jigsaw puzzle. And I wasn't really see what the picture was, and I didn't actually care what the picture was of.
Yeah, they had to add a little bit of drama, like, oh, is Rowan going to get away with it? But
it was also complicated.
Rowan
it felt like they were barking up the wrong tree here, because they were using the blackmail stuff about the relationship between Toya and Nick, which I guess they thought would make sense because the story now isn't about Rowan and the Institute, it's about Nick, Leanne and Toya.
Yeah.
So to use that angle to make the court case interesting made sense on paper, but in reality we didn't get any closure for any of the other stuff that they got up to, and it felt like Leanne was on trial for not noticing that her boyfriend and her sister were having an affair. Like, it doesn't really, I mean, I guess it does make a bit of sense, but it just felt weird.
I didn't like all out and out despise the scenes whatsoever. I did kind of enjoy because Rowan's one of those villains that I enjoy, and this is the difference between him and Kit. Like, he's the sort of villain, same with Stephen, same with Pat, who I enjoy getting one over, even the characters that I really like.
Who's he?
Rowan.
Okay.
I like to see him kind of smirking away and going, oh, you cheeky monkey. But with Kit, I don't. I just don't enjoy him as a villain, and when things are going his way, and I know there's a love to hate and there's a hate to hate, but I kind of think that also villains you should love to hate in a way.
I see him as more of an antagonist than a villain.
Oh, he's not exactly the same, but I'd like to be able to go, oh, Kit, how's he going to get away with this?
Coronation Street's been missing somebody like that who's just there to put a stick in your bicycle.
Yeah, I get how he's important, but
lots of people will say the same as you. He's not a very liked character at all.
Yeah.
But I like what he does to the storylines.
Well, I'm kind of interested to see how he's going to be involved more in the Platts storyline going ahead, at least. So, but more on that later.
So Leanne goes on stand and she says that I did not know about this affair. Rowan was using it to blackmail them. He played on grief, used it against me. I just wanted to be a better person, and I wanted to be a better partner to Nick, and also a stepmom. And she starts crying like, oh, I was a fool. Like, I'll never again. I'll fall for lies from people I meant to trust. Yeah. And then she looks at Toya and Nick.
Toya's just oblivious this whole week. Like, she doesn't. I don't think she suspects at all.
She does not.
Despite the fact that Leanne's making it very obvious that she knows.
No, she's.
I thought that Toya would be smarter.
Toya is blind by. I don't know. She was being a bit insufferable this week, wasn't she?
Yes.
I think it's fascinating what's going on here. I think this is great. I think, Kate Brooks deciding to focus on these characters for this. I was you hated the storyline. It wasn't the Kate Brooks. I don't know who came up with the idea for the affair.
Oh no, I still hate the fact that Toya and Nick together, but the fact that I'm really enjoying this story just shows that they've got to be doing something right.
It's not them being together though, is it? It's the fallout that's delicious.
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
So she's kind of addressing them without them realising it. Do you think when she all comes out, she'll go read the transcript of the trial?
Yes, I knew all along.
So at the end,
Toya's like, I'm so blind. How did I not see this? I thought I was the clever one.
I went to university and you didn't. Leanne addresses Rowan directly and says, "You ruined my life." And then Rowan gets his only line, which is, "No, Leanne, you did it yourself." Yeah.
I think he might have said one other thing just before that, but I didn't write it down. But that was literally
I didn't even remember he said anything.
All he said, and that was it. So.
Well, goodbye, Rowan. Court's adjourned.
I'm not expecting to see him back ever again, are you?
I kind of think there's so much unfinished business. But the thing is, people were saying, oh, it's dragged on too long. I didn't like it.
I mean, this story, when was it? March, maybe, that we first saw Rowan?
I think it was... I enjoyed it. If you think something's crap, you're going to say it's dragged on, aren't you?
Yeah.
So... people are totally entitled to say that they think that it dragged on.
I really think that the Institute storyline has been a highlight of the year for me.
After dragging it out,
not
though,
ashamed.
The thing is, I don't think anyone, even if you didn't like the story and thought it went on too long, I don't think anyone would prefer it to not have a satisfactory conclusion.
Yes, yeah. I can't see many people watching that episode on Monday and going, oh, it's all tied up nicely.
I don't know.
It really wasn't.
I don't know how much Coronation Street listens to fan feedback, because we've said before, I don't think it's healthy or important for them to listen to what the internet says.
As much as internet polls that get set up and petitions want to try and convince Coronation Street writers of things sometimes.
Like, I don't think they should listen to what we say and go, oh yeah, they've got a really good point and we should do that, because we don't know what's going to happen next. So sometimes I do think Coronation Street gets cold feet about some of these longer storylines and kind of like knocks them on the head sooner than they should have done. Like, I'm pretty sure that they stopped the Stephen storyline sooner than they meant to.
Yeah, I think they might have done.
And this storyline feels the same way. But I'm going to say, again, one of my catchphrases, have the courage of your convictions. If you think it's important enough to have done a storyline that spanned several months, have a proper ending to it. Otherwise, you've not just betrayed the people that didn't like it in the first place, but also the people that did like it. And they're the ones you need to keep happy. Yeah. Anyway, so disappointing ending for this storyline, but maybe, like as you hinted, Rowan might come back. I don't know. And maybe it would be called something else, like, what would you call it? The resource centre.
I still say team them up with the Etheric Institute and get Emrys Cooper back with Joe Froggatt to combine their cultish powers.
Why not?
To find that to make Weatherfield's uber cult, but maybe let's leave it another 20 years before that happens, eh?
Maybe they branched out into Stoma support groups.
maybe that is just the cover.
Because well, Debbie was in with them before. Debbie's probably got shares in the Institute.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, she's like, oh, maybe I should have brought it up earlier, but this is just the time.
Nobody asked me specifically.
No, the time never came up, and then it just became a bit embarrassing.
I mean, I was going to demolish half the street. This is better, surely. Anyway, so Nick and Leanne go into the corridor and isn't it tough? No, this was, Leanne and Toya.
Yeah.
No, Nick and Toya. Like, that was really hard. I wish we didn't have to sneak about. And then Leanne comes out and she's like, I can't believe I made an outburst like that. Do you think it's going to affect the outcome? But I'm glad you're here because you've been my rocks. And then she kind of walks off like,
Yeah, there's been quite a few times where we've... facing the camera, she's kind of, the face has fallen to reveal a sneer or a smirk or something.
Very much vibes of Stephen in the microwave.
Yeah, well, yeah, pulling the face.
Right, so Nick...
That was a bit of a Vin Diesel the Weasel face that you just pulled there, you know.
You guys are going to have to imagine that. So Nick and Leanne go back to the flat together. She convinces him to go back with her. And she's trying to play this pity card. And Nick's trying to get away.
And Toya's trying to get him to come along and see her. But he can't because he feels that he needs to continue to be this so-called rock to Leanne. She's
at the hotel waiting for him. She gets fed up and she calls his phone and he's not there, but Leanne is. And she picks it up and goes, oh, yeah, I'm here with Nick, actually. He's running me a bath. Sorry, we're busy. Bye. And Toya's completely heartbroken by this and a bit worried because she... is kind of blindsided by this, and
well, she's also worried that has she been caught out? I think was a little bit.
What like, have I been caught? Does she want to get back with Nick? What if Nick actually does want to get back with her? Like all these. I'm also just jealous because I want to be with him because I miss him.
I mean, he wasn't running her a bath; he was just taking the bins out, wasn't he?
But she lied.
All part of Leanne's plan.
Yeah, Nick comes in and Leanne's like, "Oh, have some wine." So they sit down.
I mean, it was a bit of a risky move from Leanne, really, because if she suspects that Nick and Toya are having all these little secret liaisons, Toya could very much that earlier on when you were running Leanne a bath, I thought she'd already caught us then, and if all it would have taken would have been him to say, I wasn't running her a bath.
But I think this is fun though because she's risking a lot because she's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, not anymore.
And I also think she's got quite a lot of faith in her ability. Don't forget, this is Leanne Battersby we're talking about here. This is Leanne Battersby who made her profession lying to men. Saying that she thought they were handsome and funny and clever and please give me £50 for the evening. So I think she can handle Nick for sure, and I think Toya's certainly not an adversary at the moment, is she?
No.
I really wonder whether Toya will get a Battersby spirit after this.
I hope so because she is being a bit of a she is being a bit of a doormat.
She's a wet blanket at the moment. If it's proper, and also she doesn't even know she's in war. She's at war. Leanne's got the advantage here, and she's really using it. I'm loving this.
I need there to be like a full-on Battersby confrontation, hair pulling.
Do you think we're going to end up like
something.
we had with Peter and Nick, like a fight in the
maybe
in the street at Christmas? If we have a Battersby fight,
but I still need them to make up at the end. And I think that they have been referring to it all the way, that, you know, the Battersby bond, the sister bond, is strong and unbreakable. And I'm putting my trust in the show that they will keep these two together. I'm a little bit trepidatious about it, but they work better when they're a team. And the fact that when Leanne first found out about Toya and Nick together, and she was like, right, I'm kicking Nick out, but I'm sticking with you because I don't want us to break up. I just really, really hope that she's got the slither of forgiveness for Toya, and Toya is allowed the opportunity to show her how sorry she is and to earn Leanne's forgiveness.
I want it to feel hollow though.
I know.
So I don't know how they can do this, but I'm excited to see.
I mean, really, at this stage, who is the biggest villain of the two? Is it Nick or is it Toya? And I would almost say that it's Toya, because when Nick split up with Nick, she severed ties.
Nick split up with Leanne.
Yeah. When Leanne split up with Nick, she severed ties with Nick, but then she put her trust in Toya, and she's completely thrown it in her face. Yeah. Toya's supposed to be a loyal sister to her.
Yeah.
So at the moment, Toya is the biggest villain in the piece. She can't keep her knickers up.
Really, the thing that's stopping them from... The thing that's making them a villain is that they're scared of hurting her. And that's kind of ironic, really. Because there was nothing that... They're not cheating on Leanne. Leanne's broken up with Nick ages ago. They're just lying to her face.
It just goes against the sister code, doesn't it? And
Toya's thinks she's very emotionally mature, but really she's protecting herself.
Yeah.
She keeps saying, it's for Leanne's good because we can't tell her now. This isn't the right time. Now's not the right time. Tomorrow's not the right time. Maybe in 3 weeks after we've come from holiday. You know, she keeps changing the goalposts, and maybe there's something to be said for that. But I also think it's quite convenient for her because she knows that she feels bad about this and she's trying to put it off.
Yeah.
I don't know, but...
It was interesting. We were kind of remarked when we were watching the episode, that bit in today's, when she says to Nick, I can't wait to get on that plane, then it can all be over. But that is still 2 weeks away until the holiday, and an awful lot can happen then. That's 2 weeks more of lies.
I also don't think I would have a nice holiday knowing that when I came back, I was going to blow my life up. Or
you're right, actually.
Are they going to do it before, though? I think she wanted to do it before they go.
But I thought that she said today that she was going to do it afterwards. But no, you might be right. But either way... It is going to ruin your holiday because whether you've told her before or after, I know they've said, you know, we're going to tell, maybe, we're going to tell her and then give her 2 weeks to calm down.
A week.
You're not going to think, it'll all blown over when I get back.
No.
It will be a rubbish holiday.
It would be rubbish. They're going to Tenerife, aren't they?
Yeah, Tenerife.
I think I'd just go somewhere like, you know, I don't want to besmirch any of our great seaside resorts in this country because I do think it's a silly joke to make fun of them, but I don't think Blackpool's nice this time of year.
Probably a bit blowy. I hear Portsmouth is excellent. Maybe she should go and join Gemma down there.
Maybe they should have gone somewhere cheaper, but actually nowhere's cheap in this country. You can't go on holiday for I know it sounds stupid, but for £1,000 you couldn't get a nice hotel anywhere for a week here, could you?
No, I don't think so.
It's awful. Right, so anyway, but they should go to Tenerife, I suppose. So she's heartbroken about this, and so Leanne has got Nick on the sofa with the wine, talking about the Institute, saying, I'd be a better person. You know, I think that maybe if I hadn't joined the Institute, we'd still be together. What do you think? I still love you, Nick. And she goes in for a kiss, and he kind of it's like she's a lemon coming in to squirt in his face because he screws his face up Argh! It kind of reminded me of a little boy whose aunt is giving him a kiss on the lips and he doesn't really want her to.
It's like the bit in Bill and Ted 2 when the granny is coming down to kiss little young Ted or Bill, whichever one it was, I don't remember. You're right. He's kind of he could have pulled away, but equally he doesn't want to upset her, I suppose.
No, he just kind of and she kisses him and then he pushes her away after the break and says, this isn't a good idea. And she carries on. She's not deterred at all. And she's like, why are you still single? And he hesitates. And then he says, yes, of course I am. And she says, oh, thank God for that. There's still a chance then. Do you still love me? And he says, I do. I always have. And she's like, look, think about it. I think we could get back together. I can't bear to lose you now. But then she gets a call from Steve, and it turns out that the verdict's in. So
Yeah, they left. They didn't even stay at the trial, did they? Because they had far too much of the dramas to get on the street.
wine to drink.
Yes.
So they go back to the Rovers, and it seems like he's been found guilty, and Amy's going to get a bit of money, but I'm not sure whether she's getting the full amount. Honestly, again, I don't understand the circumstances under which she can get a refund.
When she gave the money,
she already was getting one because they were trying to pay her off to shut up.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I think
it felt very hand wavy. Anyway, that's over now. Why
can't they? And again, the only way that he's in trouble is if there was no resource centre.
But maybe there wasn't. That's the problem. We didn't see enough of the trial to know what exactly.
What is he actually on trial for? What's the offence? Like blackmail.
Yeah, cultery.
I mean, I know that he did loads of stuff that's wrong, but I don't know what he was actually in trouble for.
Aggravated cultery. He's an agricultor.
Maybe he's just like, you're the villain. You're on trial for being the villain.
I don't know. Right. I don't know. Don't worry about Rowan again. He'll never be mentioned again.
They'll never remember. And meanwhile, Leanne's forgotten her passcode to AI Ollie, so
yeah,
that's gone. So everyone goes back to the Rovers, and Leanne is then left with Tracy in the booth when people are getting drinks and stuff, and she's like, Tracy's like, why are you sniffing around him again? I thought you had more sense or something like that. And she's like, look, I'm playing a long game here.
I was expecting this to be more of a kind of double act of revenge with Leanne and Tracy, but I guess Leanne doesn't need anybody's help to be a total bitch.
No, she also, I mean, what good would Tracy be? It's just a liability, and she's not close enough to Nick to cause any harm anyway. So Nick eventually manages to get back to Toya in the hotel, tells her about Leanne wanting to get back together, and Toya's getting so stressed out. She's like, this could blow up at any minute. She could find out about us. I cannot take this risk. And Nick's like, no, it's fine. But Toya is not sure at all. Then we see Sam coming back from school and finds Leanne rooting around in some boxes. She says she's looking for a charger, but she's not. She's actually looking for Toya's passport, which she finds. And then... very handily, just in a box on top. In the bistro, later on, Leanne tells Toya that she and Nick kissed, and she makes out that they were like snogging and everything, and that it was Nick's idea. And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get back together with him. I can't wait. We're gonna be back together." And so Toya like runs off to Nick and asks him about this. Why did you let her kiss you? Why don't you push her off? And he's like, "She was fragile." And Toya's like, "No, look." Leanne thinks you're going to get back together. You've got to tell her. Like, I can't risk losing her. The door is closed on that, Toya. Why did you tell her? Why did you tell her that you were going to think about getting back together? And he's like, I had to make a judgment call. I didn't know what to say. I thought it felt like the best idea. And Toya's like, no. She storms off. She's in the mood because she can see a scenario very likely now where she loses both of them. Yeah. And I think, again, like Leanne, if she had a choice, she would have picked Leanne over Nick. Well, 100%. But Nick still is falling head over heels with Toya because when she leaves and he is left the other side of the door, he says, "But I love you. I only want to be with you." So, clearly he's made his choice. And again, just like the other two, these people could all end up losing one another through this, this is what I mean about the stakes being high. Yeah. I care about all of these characters and whether they end up in relationships with each other and whether they lose their, their sisterhood of friendship, lovers or whatever. There are other characters that are, the stakes seem like they might be higher on paper, but because I don't have this emotional investment, I don't... Absolutely. They could have done this story with 3 other characters and I couldn't give 2 hoots about it. But... Right, so Leanne has got Toya's passport. She's in the bistro and she's setting up a new bank account with Toya's information. Yeah, I did think that she was maybe looking a little regretful about it. She's like, am I going too far here? Sorry, I've got to do this, but you brought it on yourself. It didn't stay for long because, Wednesday's episode comes along and... Leanne's fantasising, as we said, in the morning, as Nick's trying to fix the Christmas lights about him electrocuting. Getting electrocuted. She plugs it in when he doesn't, he's like, no, don't worry, it's not plugged in. And she imagines plugging it in and he zzz, and then she says to him, that's what you get for messing with a Battersby. yeah, and then it cuts to reality.
I didn't need that, the interrupted swear word. I think it would have been more powerful if it had just been, that's what you get when
I
messing
don't
with
think
a
she should have
Battersby.
even said that. I think she should have just smiled like Wednesday Addams.
No, I love this because I think Kate Oates clearly knows that the name Battersby means something.
I know, but...
And it doesn't mean doormat, it means powerhouse, it
Yeah,
means
I know,
fiery.
But Toya's a Battersby as well.
Well, not officially by name at the moment, is she?
No, that's true.
And she's not acting like a Battersby. Maybe all she needs to do is change from a Habib to a Battersby, and that's what will make her get her fire back again. I don't know.
But... So Leanne's like, okay, I've had my fun. I'm gonna snap back to reality. She asks him.
She's like, oh, do you think we're gonna move together this time next Christmas?
And he's like, no, let me think about it. Ladies, anytime you ask a man about a relationship question and he says he needs time to think about it, he's just thinking of a way to say no. Just so you know. She also says to him, "We go to the will reading with me today," and he's like,
Yeah,
"Well, I was going anyway." To be with Toya. So they all gather in Adam's office.
Well, it's them, it's Fizz, it's Chesney. Kirk's there as well, yeah. This was great. I loved the will reading scene.
I know,
this is the beginning of the Les Battersby callback spectacular that was the second half of this week's Coronation Street.
I don't think this happens in real life, which is such a shame, because I've always wanted to gather together with a group of people, all of us wearing, eccentric outfits, like perhaps I could wear a fur coat and some kind of netting over my face with a cigarette holder in my hand or something like that.
What can I wear?
You can wear like some dungarees and like maybe a piece of corn out of your mouth, like a piece of wheat. I
have actually been dressing quite eccentrically in real life this week because as soon as December comes along, it is officially Christmas jumpers fashion period in Michael Land, isn't it? So I've had a different Christmas jumper on every week
fashion,
at school.
You say fashion about what you wear.
I've been this Christmas Coronation Street jumper that we got.
This has been praised and criticised in equal measures.
I have had some pictures of myself put online this week wearing the jumper. Some people like it, some people didn't, but I've been wearing it every week. I'm going to wear this every day at Christmas. I love it.
You've got to change it.
This is literally my favourite Christmas jumper. I think it's amazing and so utterly tacky.
I wish this colour was different. The blue, I don't like that colour blue. That's my only criticism. But you've got to change it.
Okay.
You've got to wash it. You can't wear it for a month.
Okay. Anyway, yes, you're right. Getting relatives to gather round in a solicitor's office to listen to a will reading.
It's very much the same as doing a gavel.
Yeah,
you don't have that.
But does this actually happen? No. I don't know.
No,
we've had a couple of deaths that in our lives, and none of them have involved listening to a will. We just kind of find out on the phone. Yeah, to you I leave this, to you I bequeath that, but. I don't know whether it's real or not, but yeah, it was very fun here.
I want to be a snubbed in like a spectacular fashion, so I can light my cigarette and walk out in a huff.
I remember
get a hit out on you or something.
Blanche had a particularly good one, and Norris was there waiting to see what she'd left him, and I can't actually remember what it was, but something hilarious. Anyway, so what do you want to? What you're doing a bit of?
No, just like it's not. There's no such thing as illegal. You don't have to gather everyone together. Like it would be so much not worth anyone's time.
According to Google. To
gather everybody, like the solicitor would be charging you. Do you really want to pay money, like hundreds of pounds, to gather together in an office to find out that you got like a spoon? Anyway.
Well, it was just very handy that there happens to be a lawyer's office just round the corner.
Well, see, Adam and Dee Dee, they both seem to do everything for free, don't they?
Yeah.
Because they don't need to eat.
Just trying to up their reputation.
So they gather together and there's a note and Leanne has to read it as like the most bereaved, isn't she?
Yeah.
So Adam's like, I can't read this. You're gonna have to do it. So she gives it to Leanne, and it starts off with "Hey, hey."
Well, this is how Leanne reads it, and he's like, "What?" And then Kirk does the "Hey," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was totally." I'd forgotten that Les did do the like double thumbs up and the "Hey," and it was super. The whole letter, I could totally imagine Les saying it, even though it gets a bit soppy towards the end. Yeah, it was brilliant.
She reads it out. I hope you'll all remember me with a smile. I know I made some mistakes in my life, but the one thing that kept me going is all you kids. Ches, Toya, and of course our Leanne.
Yeah, that's how it ends. There was more Leslie stuff before then.
More Les Battersby stuff.
Yes.
she starts tearing up. She can't really read any more of it, and so Nick takes over, and then he ends up with a quote from Status Quo, which I don't know.
I don't
can't remember.
I didn't recognise it.
Again,
apparently it was his favourite
song. We highlight the fact that we're not music people. Everyone seems to know all the music and what song this was. But then again, you know, this is like crowdsourcing. Of course everybody knows, because we're talking to thousands of people.
Mm.
If we were talking to you one-on-one, would you remember?
No.
Right, anyway. Les has left a cigarette lighter to Fizz because she loves the smoke. An album to Kirk.
She's got to be careful with that. Hope's going to find it.
I know,
and,
Hope's like,
progress up onto
Granddad
cigarettes,
Les.
isn't she?
Yeah, that's true. Apparently all the cool kids are smoking again.
I've heard this. I've heard that teenagers, the coolest of the teenagers,
only
are now smoking
losers
again.
care about
Oh
lung
my gosh,
cancer.
it's terrible. But has Hope given up on vaping? I don't know.
She seemed to kick that addiction pretty quickly.
Well, she's got the milkshake addiction this week, hasn't she? Because we saw her coming out as Sweet Enough this week to congratulate Daisy on her choice of boyfriend.
I honestly think that, like, as far as harm reduction goes, sucking on a vape's probably less bad than sucking on a milkshake. If you're gonna
don't tell me that.
Yeah, but she'd be sucking on a milkshake like 3 times a day, probably, to try to. Think about how many times you would vape. If you replaced every time with a milkshake, you'd be rolling down the hill pretty soon, wouldn't you? Right, so anyway, they've got all these bits and bobs. You got a snakeskin jacket to Chesney, and he's like, oh god. And there's a bit of money in his
Kirk
account.
gets an album, doesn't he?
I said that, yeah.
Oh, did you say?
So the people that are going to get the money are Les, Toyah, and Chesney.
Leanne, Toyah,
and Chesney. Yeah. And they're like, okay, it's a few £100, so big whoop. But there's a complication, because this is when we discover the grim truth that Les died in an abattoir at work, and there was clearly something afoot, because the company have offered them £50,000 to sign an NDA. And they're like, what the heck? 50 grand. And, you know, obviously Chesney, this hasn't come up yet, but Chesney's real. Maybe this is where the story's going. Chesney's got so much more of a incentive to take the money and shut up.
Yeah.
Than Leanne and
if
Toyah
he turns this down like he turned down the Freshco 4 deal, sorry, there's no saving this guy. Just perennially broke.
What would it be, like 16,
fault.
17 grand?
Something like that, yeah.
So that's not going to touch the sides really with that many kids, but it certainly would make a bit of a difference if you're going to go on ski trips. So Leanne's like overwhelmed by this, because this was not what they were expecting to hear. So Leanne's like, I need some air, and Nick, come with me. So
yeah, she's again just trying to rile Toyah up by making sure that Nick is at her beck and call and by her side at all points.
So they're back at the bistro, and Toyah's getting really annoyed by how touchy-feely Leanne is being with Nick. And she keeps saying to Nick, like, she wants to get back with you. Why aren't you telling her where to go? Are you feeling the same way? She's getting so insecure here, as well as jealous. And Nick's like, no, I still love you. We should go on holiday. And she's, I'm so tired of lying. We just got to go. But they agree to kiss. And he tries to sort out a romantic meal for when they get to this resort. So nice romantic gesture there.
So if Sam does end up going on to this holiday, then he's going to be, Dad, what
Dad,
why
why are you? I know these are
oysters.
aphrodisiacs.
Yeah. So Sam's had a bad experience this year with oysters.
You
This
can
is just
open
going to
them,
be
Dad.
reminding him again.
Do it. Right, so Toyah finds Leanne. She's got to do this eulogy, and she's struggling to try to write it. She's got like as far as like Les.
Well, Les spoke his mind, status quo, and that's about all she could say. I was like,
Scylla.
I don't get why Leanne. I know that writing eulogies isn't necessarily the easiest thing, but I would have thought that she might have done a better job than that. I don't know.
She's got other things on her mind.
She has got other things.
I don't think that she was really trying to write the eulogy. She was getting up to whatever she's trying to do with
maybe
Toyah's bank details.
Yeah.
Because at the end, when she's done
what she should have done,
everyone says she did a good job.
What she should have done was just written in Les status quo, spoke his mind, And then put that into ChatGPT, and then it probably could have also generated a eulogy for her.
We must have done a character profile on him.
Yeah.
You just play that. so they even give Greg a shout out.
Yeah, Greg Kelly. So for the long term, or the not so long term, viewers of Coronation Street who are wondering who on earth is this Greg that they referenced. He was Les's long lost son. We said this earlier on in the podcast, didn't we? That appeared on the street in 98, 99, I think, and then it turned out he was a bit of a nasty con man, and he bedded Sally and then held Sally and the girls, Rosie and Sophie, hostage for a bit, and then he disappeared off, and we'd never been heard from since. Any of the money. Yeah, I don't think he is, but I like how they mentioned him.
So they both agree that even though he had his faults, he loved them and they love him, I guess.
Yeah.
But then Toya's like, oh yeah. Anyway, can I please have some time off before Christmas? I would like to take the 18th and the 23rd off, please. What? Like, no.
This was
number one, no.
I know. At a bistro at Christmas, you're asking for the week before.
You've just been promoted, haven't you, to manager?
Yeah.
You think the best time for a week off is before Christmas? No. Anyway, Leanne's obviously
she also was like, that's the same week that Nick's away. Like, don't worry, we'll manage. We'll manage. Again, why isn't Toya suspicious here that everything's working out? No resistance from Leanne.
Well, Toya's like, okay, great. And then Leanne shakes her head like, you idiot. I think she's blinded by love, Michael. So
there's a little scene with Kirk later, wasn't there? Because he's decided that he actually would quite like the snakeskin jacket that Les has bequeathed Chesney.
Wanted the. Oh yeah, Anyway,
that was a bizarre little scene, but once she manages to shoo him away, we get to find out what Leanne's evil scheme for the passport is.
She transfers £1,700 of the bistro's 21,000 odd account to TLH Holdings, which would stand for Toya Laverne Habib.
Yeah, so she's basically framing Toya.
She's opened a bank account in Toya's name. She's called it TLH Holdings, and she's stealing money from the bistro. Now, the question I've got is, does she expect Nick to believe this? Is this trying to split Toya and Nick up, or is she just trying to get Toya arrested?
She can't expect Nick to believe him. This has just got.
But Nick is kind of dumb. I think if she tried hard enough, she might.
I don't think he's that dumb.
I do.
I think this is just. I think that. I don't think she even thinks it's necessarily going to stick. I think she just wants to cause a bit of chaos because.
I know, but she's committing fraud here.
It is a mega risk. Again, like everything we said, it's a huge risk. This could come back and totally blow up in Leanne's face because she's the one that did it.
The thing is, this is just astronomically much more serious of a thing than what she like. He's running me a bath. Oh, we had a kiss. That's actually probably going to work better than the money stuff as far as breaking them up, because she's got inside Toya's head so quickly.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm intrigued to know what.
Well, it also shows that, like we were saying earlier, Toya is the main villain here. This is showing that Leanne thinks that Toya is that she's not trying to set Nick up as being
you're right.
the money nicker. She's like, I put my trust in you, Toya. I forgave you.
Yeah.
And you threw it back in my face. Well, this is what you get.
Yeah. So on Friday, they're all ready for this funeral. We don't get to go with them, but we get to see them setting off for it. Then she's like asking Nick about this holiday, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Sam can't come because it's so close to, it's not in a school holiday time, so he's not got permission. So I'm going to go on my own." And Leanne's like, "Oh, okay." So he steers the conversation back to Les, and it's like, you're gonna be all right. He loved you. Everything's gonna be okay.
This whole thing about the school permission and
okay. So the taxis go to the funeral, and Toya's like, I need to go on holiday. Sooner the better.
Leanne was standing literally 30 centimetres away from Toya when she was whispering that to him.
I know.
So Leanne's not the only one taking mega risks here.
So they come back to the bistro after the funeral for what would you call it? The reception, the wake, whatever.
Yeah.
They're having all the food. Again, Chesney betrays his lies because he leaves a load of food at the buffet and doesn't try to take it home for his starving family. So
This is where we get the Curly Watts reference, isn't it? Leanne says, "I can't help thinking about that time that Les headbutted Curly Watts after he stole my ghetto blaster."
Yeah, and then she cries in Nick's arms, and Toya's like, I can't believe it. She's starting to get annoyed now, isn't she? She's starting to get her nose put out of joint. First of all, she was just worried and kind of uncomfortable, but now she's getting she tells Nick you can't be the shoulder Leanne cries on anymore. You've got to, as soon as we get back from holiday, we're gonna tell her. So then Leanne sees that Toya's like, come over here, Nick, but Leanne's like, no, you come over here, Nick. So he goes to the one he loves. he goes over to see Leanne, and she says, don't worry, I called Mrs. Crawshaw, and she said that Sam can go on the trip. She's authorised it. And Nick's like, wow, that sounds unbelievable. I don't want him to miss any school, though, so we shouldn't do it. And Leanne didn't go, well, why would you plan it in the first place, then?
I know.
She says, no, don't worry, I'm going to sort... Mrs. Crawshaw will give him work over the holiday so he doesn't fall behind. And then she pinches him on the cheek going, oh, look how happy you are.
Yeah, and Nick Toya's there in the background.
Yeah, she did it. She did it so that Toya would see.
Yeah. The story, I felt that this story didn't really end in a satisfactory way with a big cliffhanger. It was just Nick telling Toya what Leanne told him.
Yeah, Toya's like, oh, I'm not going on holiday with Sam, are we?
So I don't even know, has Leanne spoken to Mrs. Crawshaw, or is she just saying that?
In real life, there's no way this is true.
Well, no. Mrs. Crawshaw would in no world authorise Sam to go on holiday. For one, why is it Mrs. Crawshaw? She's not the head teacher. Mr. Griffiths is the head teacher. But maybe, I don't know, in secondary schools it's the deputy head that sorts out that kind of thing. But this is an authorised absence. This is not authorised. You don't just say, yes, I will let your child go off on holiday. Go on just because it's nearly Christmas. He's had lots of trauma recently. His mum was shot the other year.
Let's also... I know that it's tough when you got kids. Believe me, I know how expensive it is. And just remember that we will never get to go on a cheap holiday. So my sympathy, take what you will out of it. But don't come this whole it's educational nonsense and they're going to learn more on holiday than they would ever learn at school, because we all know that's absolute rubbish, isn't it? Even if you went on a trip to Egypt to discover the ancient tombs, unless it's on the curriculum and it's part of what you're supposed to be learning, and you also do maths and physics and all the rest of it, and English and grammar and all the rest of that boring nonsense,
you're missing out.
You're not going to learn on holiday. You're just not. Don't pretend. That's one of the things that really annoys me when people say it's educational. It's not. Tenerife is not educational.
No. So what's going to happen with that now then? Is Nick? So I guess Nick is obliged to take Sam along with him?
No, I don't know what's going to happen here because is Leanne lying?
Yeah, has she actually phoned up Orla and said, "Can I do
is Coronation Street expect us to believe that you can just take a kid out of school and that, because that's dumb. That's just offensively dumb, or is it that she's lying and she's hoping that Nick will take Sam and get in trouble? Maybe she could report him for kidnapping Sam. I don't know. She could do. He's not at school. Where's he gone?
No.
The thing is, also, you pointed this out to me. If Nick's going by himself and Toya's not there, he's just volunteered Leanne to look after his son for a week. Not even ask her if that's okay.
Yeah.
He's just gone, oh yeah, by the way, just so you know, Sam's not coming with me. And just leave it at that. Okay, well, he is sensible. I guess he could raise himself for a week.
Yeah,
look at
Daniel. Didn't do Daniel much harm.
He was fine.
Anyway, so this should be a lot of fun. Do you think that this holiday is going to happen? And who's going to go? See, Sam knows that the holiday was supposed to be for Nick and Toya, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and he's not happy with this relationship. So why would he want to go on holiday with his dad to a holiday that he knows is for... he knows that he's not welcome there.
Is he gonna just say, I don't want to go?
Yeah.
And that will get them... Maybe Nick will say to Sam, you've got to tell Leanne that you don't want to go on holiday.
I don't think Nick needs to tell Sam that. A holiday is lovely and everything, but I think he's sensible enough to know that Leanne, this wasn't a holiday for him.
Can't get out of it then if Sam says, I don't want to go.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to finding out whatever happens.
Which story? There was another story where somebody organised a holiday and then they didn't get to go because the other person found out about it, the affair partner?
Can't remember.
Or is it? Am I thinking of a different movie?
I don't know.
Or TV show? There was a famous. I don't know if it's in Coronation Street or if it's something else. Oh man, it was just on the tip of my brain then.
Never
where
mind.
somebody was arranging. Oh, I nearly had it again.
Come on.
Oh, I know. It was in Emily in Paris. Do you remember when Emily's boss is supposed to go on a little bonking trip with the perfume guy or the fashion guy? And then, sorry, this is a spoiler for Emily in Paris, but not really a major one. And then the wife finds the holiday details and tells him, "Oh, you're surprising me with a holiday." And then Sylvie has to be like, "Oh, that's so nice of him." And then she doesn't get to go on holiday.
I don't remember that, but yes, that's also.
I don't know how I confused that with Coronation Street.
Well, there's an Emily in both, or at least there was.
There's a lot more smoking in Emily in Paris than you get on Coronation Street these days.
So is Leanne's plan for revenge? Is this harsh enough for you? Is she going too overboard? How does it kind of rate with what you were hoping for?
What, forcing somebody to go on holiday with their son? That's dastardly.
I thought
we don't know what exactly it is at the moment. I mean, it seems fairly straightforward, but is there more to it than this?
I think that the whole money fraud angle, she may come to regret as being a bit harsh,
bum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to get her in trouble.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what.
But she's
what
a woman
Sarah
scorned.
did.
She doesn't care at the
it's
moment.
It's like what Sarah did, scratching Debbie's car. It's like you're brainless.
But yeah, I absolutely fantastic this week. I know that it made Leanne seem really petty and Toya seem weak. Well, and Nick was
Toya seemed
weak,
like oblivious and dumb, didn't she?
She did a little bit. You're right. I think we need to have her getting a bit more fire back. But I'm perfectly happy to wait and see how this plays out over the next few weeks. I kind of hope that this story does keep running up until Christmas. This is it's clearly, in my mind, this is when it's gonna all blow up, don't you think?
I think there's going to be a festive, what's the word? Fraction.
Festive fracas.
Yeah, festive fracas.
Yeah.
I really want there to be do you think they would ever do? I mean, they did it with Eileen and Gail, didn't they?
What?
A proper woman fight. Like, we've had slaps and stuff, but I think Gail and Eileen are the only two female characters that have ever had like a prolonged.
As I can remember, there's been the odd, scuffle and hair pull and things here and there.
Yeah, what a proper.
But I think if anyone could pull it off, it could be the Battersbys.
Oh, but I think they would. I think they'd go too far. I think they'd try to scratch each other's eyes out, quite literally. I think they'd be gouging and
We
knives.
have not got long to wait if it is Christmas. If this is even going to happen, I don't know. This is just our fantasy.
I'm also just kind of imagining Leanne passively aggressively giving Toya some tofu chunk of like processed soya paste for her Christmas dinner and like thudding it on the, here you go, here's your tofurkey.
I think she'd tell her it's tofurkey and actually give her turkey and say, haha, you're just eating meat.
I think there'd be complaints.
Right, let's just cover the stuff that happened with Les that wasn't really tied up in that, and that there wasn't a whole lot. We've got more of Chesney being paranoid about this van that supposedly was stalking him, and I'm wondering whether is this anything to do with Les? I don't think it can be, because he chose to park.
No, it doesn't make. Maybe it's a different van, and he just thinks it's the same van.
Yeah.
Because if this is somebody from the abattoir trying to intimidate him, it would make sense.
But why intimidate him unless is somebody just trying to pick off every Battersby Brown one by one?
Well, maybe the other two are so oblivious they don't notice that their life's being sabotaged.
I don't know. One thing I really loved about Mondays, another thing, was that we got these Fizz and Chesney scenes, and you don't see those two together very much, despite being brother and sister, but they've got such lovely chemistry, Jenna McAlpine and Sam Aston. I really, really did appreciate that.
I know, you forget some of these long lost...
Yeah, she's just lovely at giving him cuddles.
Like, again, one of the biggest blind spots I've got is Kirk and Maria being brother and sister.
Yeah, totally forgettable.
So Fizz and Chesney realise that Chesney's tyres have been slashed. On Monday, and he tells Fizz all about this van man, and she's like, No, I don't think it doesn't make any sense.
I've been seeing some people online wondering, is this man just a figment of Chesney's imagination? And, is this showing that he's spiralling into mental health issues and he's imagining being stalked by a van? But the fact that the tyres are slashed means, no, there's definitely something going on here. It's utterly bizarre, isn't it? Like, what is happening here? And it's been going on for nearly 2 weeks since he stole that guy's car parking space. And it's still a bit of a mystery, but it's the most low-key mystery ever.
Well, he keeps saying this van, and Fizz is like, look, it's fine, don't worry about it. But then on Wednesday, Chesney's telling Bernie that he wants to make Christmas all special for the quads because he was remembering when he was a kid and Les used to make Christmas special and stuff. And Bernie's also, she also tells Bernie that Scylla's been texting him about whether she's going to get any money out of the will or not. And Chesney's like, I don't think so. He wouldn't have had any money anyway. And then Chesney tells Bernie later on about this will and that there might be money. And she's like, doesn't make any sense. What could possibly have happened? She's
suspicious, doesn't she?
No,
immediately, there's foul play afoot here.
Yeah. And so Friday, Gemma's leaving Portsmouth. It's probably on the grog.
On the grog?
Yeah. Well, it's festive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
they do have a nice Christmas fair at the shipyard in Portsmouth. I think Gemma would quite appreciate it. It's like a Victorian fair, isn't it?
They used to. I don't know if they still do it, but it was really lovely at one point because they had a French market and a Christmas fair, and they had like a snowy Victorian street with like little urchins.
God, that was like 20 years ago that we did that, wasn't it?
I loved that. Anyway, Gemma's loving it, and he's not told her about even the fact that Les has died, let alone the funeral and the money. Because
he thinks that Gemma needs yet another recuperation session, even though she disappeared off. This is like is her second holiday.
I know.
A second break since Paul died.
Silly. So Chesney gets stopped after the funeral by a colleague who worked at the abattoir with Les and says, look, this is an accident waiting to happen. If one of it was going to be somebody else. There have been other people that came close. They're saying it was Les and he was drunk on the job, but he wasn't. I'm telling you that that was a death trap and Les did nothing wrong. But I'm not gonna say anything about it. I can't take him on myself. I'm just warning you.
This was an off the record chat.
Yeah.
It was a bit, what's the point of telling Chesney this? I do know something, but I'm not going to help you out at all. Maybe it was just a way of spurring Chesney on to do a bit more digging himself.
Do you think we'll have a lovely festive abattoir scene where Chesney's like... Would it be like a comedy abattoir scene where he's like running around and there are cows going moo? Like
there
that.
Is
and
100%
blood spurting and they're going, we got to get all these animals killed just in time for Christmas. Everyone's going to want them for their dinner.
There is in no way going to be a scene set at an abattoir. I can guarantee you that now. Not on the factory floor anyway. Maybe there'll be an office.
Sponsored by Peter.
Pedigreed chum.
Oh my God. Anyway, so... the accident happened. So he goes and tells Bernie this, and she's like, I knew there was something going on. Dee Dee walks in, and Bernie kind of like, ambushes her and says, oh, you can take this case on, can't you? His dad was murdered by a meat hook. Can you help? And she says, no, I'm sorry, I'm a bit busy actually. Good luck though, see you later.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's really all. Yeah, I probably could have included that with the Leanne and Toy stuff, but never mind. Let's move on to the next story. I wanted to do the David and Shona story next because that was obviously a major one of the week, but because of the big revelation at the end of this story, it makes sense to talk about what's been going on with Daisy and Kit and everybody first. So this was a very brief fling, I guess, with Kit and Daisy on Monday's episode, where he charms her by helping her put the senorita on top of the Christmas tree in the Rovers because he's so tall he didn't even need to stand on his tiptoes or anything to get up there.
Didn't get to speak to the guy who plays Kit at the press day.
No,
but I would just love to know. I bet they have to change the way they frame shots because of him, because everyone on the cast is fairly similar in height.
Everyone's quite dinky.
They're
Aren't
all
they?
actor-sized, which, Tom Cruise size, Michael size, Gemma
Yeah.
size.
Jack P. Shepherd sized.
Normal sized people, not wasting any space. It's all very efficiently used. And Kit is just like comically tall.
I want to know, like, does he mind that lots of lines are put in the show at his expense?
It's certainly not a bad thing to be a tall man, is it?
No, well, if this whole Corrie gig doesn't work out, I guess basketball is his next
Possibly.
gig.
I mean, I remember there's a podcast I listened to, and they had they got to make something for Netflix, and one of the hosts of the podcast is also incredibly tall, and he filmed some scenes for this special for Netflix, and they had to cut them all because he just couldn't fit in the screen because of how big he was.
Well, Kit has proven today that...
I also want to talk to the directors. Like, sometimes they, like, I'm pretty sure when they were doing the Christmas tree scene, they filmed it from slightly above, and so you were looking down on Daisy and Kit, and it kind of minimised the height difference a little bit. They must have to do some tricks because you don't want it to be the focus of every scene. Like, look at this giant man.
I don't think that he's even, like, the tallest person there's ever been on Coronation Street, but... He stands out. Like,
Yeah.
Todd Boyce was quite tall.
Yes, he was, yeah.
But he didn't come across as, here's a really tall guy.
And I don't want anyone
I think
to
we're
feel
talking
like
about it. We're not being tallest.
I'm not trying to make fun
Wish I
or
was
like
tall.
or be rude or anything. I'm genuinely fascinated by the logistics because I just don't think that they're set up to have tall people. The thing is about it also is that you want people to be on a level when they're having a discussion. You want to see everyone's face. You want a tight
but everyone's
shot.
just nipple height to him, aren't
I
they?
know.
He liked the bit at the very end of the episode with Shona bumping into him.
Yeah.
Just bump into his chest.
It definitely creates some interesting challenges. I know Coronation Street has started doing behind the scenes, mini docs and talking about how they film certain stuff. And there
was an interesting one on your Instagram this week, wasn't there, about the framing of the... Did you see that one? There was one where a director showed... They just picked a scene where Max comes down the stairs at the Platts and then goes and sits down with David and Shona on the table, and he's like, well, this is going to be a scene that's from Max's point of view, so we show close-up of him coming down the stairs first. Then there's
a language, the whole language.
He overhears David and Shona talking, and then the camera pans and then we see them, and then David becomes focused, so he's in this. It was really really interesting. I love all of that stuff.
Yeah, there's a language to how things are shown on screen that it's kind of like how everybody who speaks English natively knows how to order, like a very big, tall, ugly red man.
Order of adjectives. Yeah,
like we all know that instinctively, and when you're watching a television show, you don't realise that you're picking up on it, but you will notice if it goes wrong. In a very tactful and in the best of taste way, without offending anybody.
Is this your request?
I want to know how they deal with Kit being incredibly tall. I just find it interesting. I hope that's not upset. I don't want to upset anybody. I hope he's proud of how tall he is.
I would be. I want to be tall.
Well, you can get your legs stretched if you want.
They also it wasn't this past week, wasn't it? They had that behind the scenes thing with Coulson going around the Corrie. It was like an 8-minute video of Coulson Smith going around the Corrie studios asking all of the behind the scenes people, what was it? When do you put your Christmas decorations up?
That's his show reel for when he leaves the show and he wants to be a presenter. Right?
It is feeling like
Sorry,
he's
but I'd
getting a
rather
bit of a
watch
backup
him
plan
than Ant and Dec.
Just for a change.
Get him presenting I'm a Celebrity.
He is a very charismatic host, and
get rid of I'm a Celebrity and get something else for him to do.
He was a very charismatic host,
and
he was a good choice with the Corrie Good News during lockdown.
Yes,
but really fun stuff going around. All of the props, the costume department.
Spoke to Dom. If you
spoke to Dom, the archivist.
We've talked about Dom before because he's lovely. We've had drinks with him quite a few times, coffee, and absolutely love him. I think he's fabulous, and he appeared very briefly.
A little cameo. Alison Sinclair was there.
Yes.
It was it was really I loved it. Well, I was wondering whether, because I think it was the 1st of December this came online, and I wondered whether Corrie were doing something for Advent this year. It feels like a long time since Corrie's social media account has done an official "It's Advent, we're gonna show you, a classic clip every day or a Christmas joke every day." They used to do that kind of stuff, didn't they?
I know, you can be bothered.
And they've been it feels like they've been getting better or more, with
I feel
putting more
like
behind the scenes and here's how it's made stuff.
Perhaps this is Kate Brooks again. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything that happens around now that's different from what they've usually done is going to be put down to Kate Brooks, isn't it?
Yeah, for good or for bad.
Well, no, whether or not it is her or not, but behind the scenes stuff is one of those. It's two-headed. To me, sometimes I find it breaks the immersion. I don't necessarily want to watch a lot of the interviews and behind the scenes stuff because I like to pretend it's real. Other people love it and want only that. If they could just have Coronation Street without the story and just people showing.
Some people just want to know what Coronation Street set looks like from on high.
Yeah. 50,000 people.
We're now we've got 50,000 views on our video now.
Really
very
helpful
proud by
feedback
this.
as well. It should have done it from a drone. It shouldn't be as
very
grey.
much to everybody who's
shouldn't say as much as we did.
Right. Anyway, look.
Love that.
So Kit wins himself a date with Daisy by coming in and putting the Christmas topper on top of the tree, and
yeah, she agrees to go on a date.
But she doesn't. She realizes that dating a coffer has its drawbacks, and she gets a bit of a backup by the fact that she doesn't like that Max confronts Kit in the street later and making snarky comments about, oh, it's Lauren's birthday today and she's behind bars because of him, and he's Daisy doesn't like the fact that people don't like him.
Well, she also doesn't like how unrepentant Kit is because he refuses to feel bad about the fact that Lauren's banged up. He's like, it's her fault.
Yeah, it's my job.
She's the one that killed somebody, and I'm just doing my job, Governor.
Well, this is what happens on Wednesday as well, doesn't it? She says the next day that was a bit weird, and he says, well, the law's the law, and she's like, I know it's your job, but I don't particularly like it. So he takes her on a little. I think this is right. Does he take her in his car or something? His police car to. He says it's a new campaign that we're starting to try and make the public see that we're not actually monsters. Come and join me on a little ride and come to the precinct. I don't really get what was going on there.
Real.
But anyway, so that goes on. But then at the same time on Wednesday, you've also got Bethany's drama because she's got this support group, this Stoma support group. Of course, it's in Chariot Square. Where else would it be?
Bistro.
Or the Victoria's Community Centre, I suppose so. But,
or Speed Dial.
But that wouldn't have helped Debbie realise or discover Bethany's dark secret, which is she goes along with people's suspicions that she had cancer.
I don't know whether she told them this or if she just doesn't correct them.
I think it was a case of not correcting them because it looks like almost everyone else who was at the support group did have cancer. And that's why they had a stoma. I don't know. But it was a bit of a shocking moment when the woman mentions it. I was like, oh, what are they doing here? And Bethany, why are you going along with this? She kind of explains it off later as it got a bit too embarrassing once I'd been going along with it for a while and then I couldn't backpedal on it, which I think we've all been in situations where we've gone along with things because we've realised it's too late to change your mind. But this is quite a big thing to lie about, and I didn't even put two and two together and realise that Daniel is going to get majorly knocked off about this because of obviously the whole Sinead thing.
He also loves any opportunity to tell somebody they're morally inferior to him.
Yeah, but
who doesn't love that?
I think I don't blame him whatsoever for his reaction to Bethany's flippant. Yeah,
she's not being flippant. She's just hoping for. She doesn't want to be judged. And again, like I said before, about why she's got a stoma and the idea, this concept that she brought it on herself, I think is totally unfair. Like I said before, if you die in a car, well, you don't die. If you say your leg has to be amputated because you're in a car crash, but you were going to McDonald's to get your third milkshake because you're trying to give up vaping, and you crashed into somebody who was like on their way to the orphanage to bring an orphan. A kidney present. Or something. Like, people are going to blame you because you shouldn't have been on the road because you were arsing around. I mean, they would do if you were drunk or high and you crashed or you were speeding. Yeah, but that's not what Bethany did. Bethany got a procedure which is maybe frivolous, but it's not like illegal.
No, but she's embarrassed because she's had enough people back in Weatherfield turning their noses up at her and saying,
Daniel's-
I can't believe that, you know, this is all your fault.
After all the support that Daniel gave her, he turns around and says exactly the same thing at the end of the week to her, that she's fearing other people are thinking.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't blame Daniel for
No, I think this is
his reaction to what she's said.
This is a good example of a situation where you feel like I can understand how you all got to this conflict.
Yeah. So we see a little bit of Daisy in the precinct. I think the point of that scene was just, it was a bit of, I quite like the kid saying, oh, this is such a cliche, coppers buying donuts. But it was odd having Hope coming out of the shop and then telling Daisy, get in there.
I know, I do.
He's a keeper. Like,
this felt like somebody else was sick that day, because why would Hope be so, like, such a wise old soul as to tell an older woman that she should keep her boyfriend? And number two, why would Daisy give a crap what Hope's opinion is?
I don't like what has Hope got to do with Daisy?
I know, yeah.
As far as Hope's concerned, she's the lady that works in the pub, but they have had nothing to do with each other. And I know that everybody is in each other's pockets on Coronation Street, but you assume that the kids aren't.
I know, if somebody came up to me and went, your husband's great, I wouldn't, if a child said that to me, I wouldn't go, I have great taste in men. I'd say, that was weird.
Yeah.
Why is a child talking to me about my husband?
Yeah, it came off as a bit odd. But anyway, back at the hotel, the meeting's all finishing off, and as they're dispersing, the lady in charge of the group mentions to Debbie, who's there at the desk, oh, that Bethany, she's really brave. You know, what with the cancer and everything. And Debbie's like, huh?
So she doesn't. She rolls with it.
Yeah, she rolls with it. Yeah, but you can see when the woman's gone that Debbie's like, where did that come from? So she goes and sees Bethany in the pub later and says, so what's the story? Cancer? And this is when Bethany says, look, somebody just assumed I had cancer and I was too polite to tell them they were wrong. What am I supposed to do? She says, I couldn't admit that I was getting plastic surgery because they would blame me. Same thing.
Look, this is why support groups are really important for targeted things.
She thinks that they blame her. I think, you know, as a support group, it'd be a pretty bad one if they said, we'll support you if you got a stoma, if you got cancer, but plastic surgery, that's unforgivable.
Just say something that might be controversial, I don't know, but when these people have stomas, okay, from bowel cancer or some kind of, you know, having cancer, the options they have, and they knew this, is that you either die from cancer or we give you a stoma.
Yeah.
And that's horrible. That's devastating. But the choice is not, you know, there's no choice here.
No.
Right? She's got a completely different set of circumstances where she didn't even have a choice. Like, she didn't have this choice, and she was perfectly fine before this happened. She went from, I'm completely 100% healthy, there's nothing wrong with me, to now I've got a stoma. There was no bargaining. There's no, at least I'm not dead. At least the cancer's gone. You know, at least I'm out of chemo now, or anything. And I know that probably sounds bad to some people, but I think you can deal with tragedies when you are given, like, the perspective of, it could have been worse. And she doesn't have that.
No,
she just has,
right.
I was healthy 1 minute and the next minute
woke up with a bag.
And that's I'm not, you know, obviously it's worse to have cancer, clearly, but this is why they're not the same. They're not the same, and she can't, like, the support that she's getting from that group is not the same as the support that she'd be getting from a group where everybody was the victim of some kind of surgery that's gone wrong.
Clearly, the surgery botch up support group is not
popular.
No, I was just saying, it's not in Chariot Square or the Bistro or Victoria Court Community Centre, so she can go to it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get to see it on screen.
And also, all the time that she's sitting there and listening to these stories and hearing these tragedies, she's probably making herself feel even worse, thinking, I am such a flipping idiot, because these people had no choice and I had a choice, and I didn't realise I was making a choice when I made it, but I'm so stupid, I shouldn't have done it. And this is just probably making her feel worse.
Yeah,
And even
and
more
she
guilty.
still is young and naive, so maybe it was a stupid thing for her to do to not correct them, but I think it was still in
Most
character.
people would not correct them. I'm sorry, but you might think you would have done, but I just don't think you would.
Especially, like, how often does she think she's going to go to this support group? Does
And
she
how
only have to
often-
ride it out today and then she's never going to see these people again?
guess
Is she
also
fully supported now?
The question also is how much of this is just about how did you get your stoma, and how much of it is, God, the other day it leaked. Oh yeah, that happened to me. Oh, I found this new top, but I can't wear it. Yeah, I know how that feels. Or, oh, I found out if you do this, then it's easier. Oh, great, that's helpful. Like, how often do they sit around and go, oh, I remember when I didn't have a stoma.
I don't know. The only
Like,
other...
like if it's kind of irrelevant, then it doesn't make any sense to go, sorry everybody. I don't know.
Well, Debbie agrees to keep quiet about this for Bethany's sake at the end of Wednesday's episode. Well, that doesn't last long.
Is it?
No, exactly. There's no benefit to her at this point, at least, in revealing what she's found out.
For Bethany's sake, she should have said something, because it's only making it worse for her.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think so, because I would be sitting there feeling like a fraud.
The big development here on Wednesday is that Sarah finds out that there's been another botch up at the Turkish surgery.
No.
So, and then this leads into Fridays. Well, maybe we can get some compo after all if they're consistently negligent. Meanwhile, with the Daisy story, she's getting a bit fed up of finding out that Kit's a bit of a nasty piece of work. She just hears about the big knees up that all the cops had at the Flying Horse after sending Lauren down, and she's very much on the side of Lauren was acting in self-defense. That was her abuser she attacked. She didn't have any choice. How dare you go and celebrate sending a innocent, in inverted commas, woman down? And Kit's like, well, this is just what we do. She should have stayed away from the bridge that night. She didn't have to go and clonk him around the head with a brick. Sorry,
also,
it's my job. Yeah. He does even bring that up, doesn't he? You're right.
But don't forget also, Daisy's coming at this from the perspective of somebody who, if she'd had the chance, if she had been able to throw that acid in Justin's face instead of getting it in hers and Ryan, she would have done it.
Yeah.
She's probably thinking, what separates me from Lauren is opportunity. I never had the chance to get him back or attack him before he got me.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So
she's taking it personally.
They end the night on bad terms, and what Kit gets up to after that we'll speak about later. So Friday rolls round, and Debbie's got this swish new silver convertible. I think she talked about it on Wednesday, but we get to see her roll up to the garage forecourt in it on Friday, looking very snazzy. And she needs Kevin to check the wheels on it or something. I don't know.
Do they go round?
Bethany and Sarah walk past and tell her about this new botch up at the surgery, and says, "Look, if we can prove a pattern of negligence here, that could mean the waiver that Bethany signed before it is basically null and void." And you said at this point, didn't you, as we were watching it, you're like, Is Debbie a shareholder? Because at the end of the scene, Debbie gives a little worried look, but you clocked even before that could have been an option. That was really, really smart of you.
I was like, hang on. Debbie was the one who convinced her to go. Why is she so interested
I had totally forgotten.
Why are they bringing
that
her
Debbie
up
was
again?
the one that convinced her to go.
Is there more to this than meets the eye?
Yeah, and you're totally right. So, because later in the episode, Adam comes round Red Bank flat to have a chat with Sarah and Bethany and says, look, this is going to be almost impossible to take this clinic to court unless you can get a specialist Turkish lawyer. However, if there were to be, I don't know, a shareholder who lived over here or a director of a company, then it'd be a lot easier. And here's something that you might want to look at. It was a file that named Debbie Webster as a shareholder in this company. At least that's what we assume it was, because we just get to see their somewhat intrigued reaction there. So Sarah then marches up to Debbie at the hotel, calling her a cold, heartless cow, saying, how dare you? You've been showing sympathy all this time when you're part of the problem. You're involved with this company. We want some compo from you. And Debbie's like, well, look, I'm sorry about what happened, but you don't have grounds to demand that from me. No, I've got a shareholder. I've got shares in this company, but I didn't botch up your daughter's surgery. What do you think? Do you think that Debbie has any way, is she bound to giving some compo here? I don't.
Morally,
Yeah.
Morally, I don't think so.
Well, I wouldn't even say business-wise.
Well,
I think
mean,
it's pretty
legally,
harsh
never
on her.
mind.
She didn't.
I don't know.
She didn't swish the scalpel. She just seems. She's just invested, and we know that Debbie likes to invest in flipping everything. She's got shares in everything, left, right, and centre. So it doesn't mean that she should take any blame. No, maybe she should have been a bit more upfront and said, "Look, I've got an interest in this business. Yeah, I'll help you look into it." She didn't, but Debbie's always has been a bit of a morally grey character and out for herself. That was what made her quite intriguing during the whole Ray Crosby buying up the street storyline.
She's unapologetically for Debbie.
Yeah, she is. That's what makes her so refreshing and such a brilliant character. And I liked the fact that she didn't just roll over for Sarah here. And Sarah says, "Well, I'm not going down without a fight," basically.
So here you go, though. Here's the interesting comparison. What makes her different from Kit?
I think it's the charm and the campness. I really, really appreciate it. Even like, was it yesterday's episode, Wednesday's episode? She's like, "Ta-ra, Chuck," at the end of a scene. Yeah. I just love how full on classic Corrie Debbie is. And Corrie is so lucky to have her. She's brilliant.
I think Debbie is just friendlier in general. And I think Kit's like,
he's more reserved, and
I don't know. I think he's like, I don't mind Vance and chumming about and having a laugh, but I think he's one of these blokes who doesn't have friends.
Who does on Corrie? Everyone's going to have friends underneath Kate Brooks, remember, Gemma, so don't worry about it. Anyway, they go back to the street later.
Street.
Yeah, Sarah and Bethany go back to the street, and Bethany's kind of given up already. She says, like, that we can't afford to fight this. There's no point. But Sarah's like, "No way, I'm not stopping yet. We're getting some." So she takes her car keys and cuts a massive slash all the way down Debbie's convertible, right in front of Kevin's face. A stupid thing to do, but
stops her.
Kevin's just like, "You can't do that."
Kevin just stands there like, do what you want.
He's calmed down since his, days of smashing up. Whose car was it he smashed up? Was it Phelan's?
Yeah, was it?
I think so. Or was it Stevens? I can't remember. He smashed up somebody's car. Remember. And I think he's been going to anger management classes since then because, this batty girl is keying his sister's car and is just like, "Hey, stop that then." But anyway.
He's like, don't do that.
Very coincidentally and lucky to progress the plot, Debbie also happens to be just walking past at this point, and she's like, What the heck are you doing? You better pay me for this." And so I was like, "Oh, don't think so, lady." And then also, very coincidentally and handily, Kit happens to be walking past. So Debbie's like, "You arrest her. Look what's happened here. She's keyed my car." So Kit takes her back to the flat, and she just she gets away with it, doesn't she? Is it because Kit's a wrong one?
Don't do that again.
If I was Debbie, I'd be fuming here. I hope she's going to chase this up.
Well, I think doesn't he say to her, like, pay her back, don't do stuff like that again, it's stupid, you have to pay for it now.
Did he say that? I can't remember.
The thing is, look, I agree with this to a certain extent, that police, and I think they do this quite a lot, just de-escalate things. That should be their first job, right?
Yeah.
If we can get this sorted out without wasting everybody's time and dragging it through courts and making a fuss and whatever, can we not just agree to just leave it as it is and you pay her back what you owe her? That makes so much more sense than like dragging her to court and
I guess
having her interrogation and asking her why she did it and all the rest of it.
Sarah just makes so many dumb mistakes.
Sarah is just like, honestly, she's female Chesney at this point.
No, what the hell? No.
That was the equivalent.
Sarah's great.
That was the equivalent of like boxing someone in at the car park and then go,
why did
they bash into my car? I don't understand.
But I think there's lots of characters who would do this, and I go, no, why would they do that? They're not that stupid. But Sarah is.
Sarah was like, yeah.
Sarah is most definitely an act first and think later kind of girl.
You stupid idiot.
She's so stupid. But anyway, that all goes on. Sarah gets away with it, and Debbie, when she finds out that Sarah's been let free and is enjoying a drink in the pub later, launches into another argument with her. Sarah saying, "Look, I'm not necessarily mad about the fact that you're, in some way involved with this company. What I don't like is the fact that you've lied all this time, keeping quiet about your involvement in it.
And pretending you cared about
pretending you were concerned about her. And Debbie's like, me a liar, you're one to talk, carrying on with a gangster behind your husband's back. And what about Bethany, pretending to have cancer in a support group? And then it's like that record scratch moment. And Daniel is there, you did what? My Sinead had cancer. And
what
you're
saying, to lie about?
Yeah, basically, you made a mockery of everyone at the support group. He storms off, and I think
it a bit personally, didn't he?
I think that's the end of a relationship there.
Oh, I hope so.
I kind of
find them very boring.
So what we've got at the moment then. Also, Daisy is now single. I mean, she was single anyway. I can't remember how long it was ago that she ended things with Ryan. Daniel's going to be looking for a shoulder to cry on. We know that he's want to go to Daisy in situations like these. I can see that maybe this is going to be the instigator for him maybe trying to get back to Daisy again. Don't you think? I mean, he'll calm down. I don't think that...
he's going to get over himself.
Yeah.
Can you believe
if
that
Daisy wasn't... Oh, God.
Relationship started on New Year's Eve between Bethany and Daniel.
Did it?
Well, it did, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, because that's when she got back, yeah.
She came back. I'm like, oh, God, they've been together for all this time. And I still am not interested.
Yeah, they just don't work as a couple for me.
I'm sorry, but it reflects so badly on Daniel, this relationship. It's so predatory and creepy.
Yeah.
And especially him being a teacher as well. Like, there are certain men who, they start off with like a girlfriend who's a few years younger than them. And then they grow older, but their girlfriends don't. And they keep dating women the same age, but never their own. And it gets creepier the older they get.
Well, that's a Tom Cruise thing, isn't it?
I don't know if it's Tom Cruise.
I thought
I'm thinking of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yes, sorry, that's who I'm thinking of, Leo DiCaprio. For legal
purposes, I wouldn't necessarily say anything about it. I remember hearing somebody saying... because Leonardo DiCaprio famously splits with his girlfriends by the time they get to like the age of 27, and everyone kind of assumes that it's because he wants younger women. But I heard somebody say, like, what if it's them, when they get to the age of 27, they realise that he's a loser and immature and they dump him and he can't date anybody who's got the mature brain of a 28-year-old. I think I might have said this on the podcast before.
Yeah, I think you have, maybe.
But just to say, fine actor. Very fine actor.
Yes.
Yeah, a talent of the generation.
He's great.
Yeah.
Enjoying this story?
No, well...
I think it's interesting that they've brought back the surgery again, and
I don't like Daniel.
It's, that is this going to just tie things up neatly? It's quite handy that they've discovered that there's been another botch up. I'm more interested in Debbie's involvement, really.
But how is this going to end? It feels like Debbie's just going to go, all right, I'll pay you back for something.
Do you think she will?
To shut her up?
I don't know. I don't know. She doesn't need to. I don't think.
As a society, I don't know where do we stand on how morally... I think people don't like shareholders. I think everything that a business does gets blamed on, like, cost cutting and stuff. It gets blamed on providing profits for shareholders. And in this country particularly, we don't really like the idea of shareholders, and like that's the reason why everyone says that the water companies are so terrible, because they keep having to return profits and not investing in waterways, and there's pollution and all the rest of it. So I think we think they're all evil. So maybe we should be saying, yeah, Debbie's evil and morally culpable for all of the evil deeds that the company's done because she invested in them. I don't know how much I really buy, like how much in capitalism, which is inherently exploitative, how much can any individual be responsible for other people? I don't know. I don't think
this is not Debbie's fault.
This is above the pay grade of this podcast. Like, if you buy chocolate, do you support slavery? Yeah, you kind of do. But do you? Not really. No, you just want chocolate. We all have certain decisions that we make that are morally grey, aren't they? Yeah. But this is just like cutting out all of that, like theoretical. Like, I don't know. I've never met anybody who works and harvests cocoa, so I'm not bothered about it. She's literally staring somebody in the face who's suffering as a result of her, greed, I guess you could say. And you know, the thing is, in America,
it's just another business.
In the news at the moment in America, that CEO of, was it United Healthcare, was just murdered in New York, like killed point blank by what looks like an assassin, and everyone's going, yeah, good, I'm glad, because I don't like what their company stands for. Apparently, they've made record profits. They're like the top 6th most profitable company in the world. 360 billion pounds or something, and dollars. And apparently they've done this by, and I look, all of these quotes, all of these numbers, I'm just remembering off the top of my head, something like 30% of their claims they turned down.
Wow.
Right, which they've increased, and this guy was boasting about increasing the amount of people that they turned down. People have died because of this guy, and also apparently they've turned their decision making over to an AI bot that makes mistakes in 90% of cases. This guy's just been murdered, and everyone's happy because they think he deserves it. In this case, Debbie is the evil healthcare CEO, and it's kind of similar because it's to do with health.
So has Debbie put a target on her back now?
I think a lot of people would say yes, but I love Debbie, so I say...
I think too many people love Debbie to really hold a grudge against her for this. And I do genuinely think that Debbie does care about Bethany. I know Sarah's saying, oh, you're only saying that because of your vested interest in the company, but Debbie's not cold-hearted. I think that she feels a little bit guilty, especially if she's the one that sent Bethany over there. It's not just, well, I hope she stays quiet. I think she's got a good heart.
I know, but is this not the problem with human beings, that we let people get away with it because we think they're charming or funny or we like them or we don't mind? Like, what? So if it was Kit, you would say, oh yeah, he deserves to because I don't like him. But because it's Debbie, it's fine. This is why we ended up with Boris Johnson.
But I don't think that...
And Brexit.
I don't think that Kit would show the same compassion towards Bethany or interest towards her as Debbie has done.
In practical terms, what has Debbie's compassion given to Bethany? What has it done for her? What does Debbie's frown do? What does Debbie's frown do? Nothing. Does as much as Kit saying I couldn't give a toss.
But feeling that you're supported and understood and not treated like a freak, because Bethany thinks that that's what she is at the moment.
Yeah, but Debbie hasn't really Debbie's just done the bare minimum of human being, like not mocking her in the street and saying, "Oh, Stoma girl, here she comes," you know.
Maybe.
I don't think that this is supposed to be, a deep thinking storyline about the evils of capitalism.
No, and to be honest, I think that it is more just a bit of something that's going to stir into the relationship stuff and who's going to end up with who. Daisy, is she going to be the shoulder that Daniel cries on? Is Bethany going to, I don't know, end up with Ryan or Kit or something again? It feels like that's where it's going.
I know, but it is interesting to consider this, this relationship in light of the news.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move on. So got
a bit of Glenda, didn't we? As well?
Yeah, Glenda was another one that just made a couple of appearances this week and last week. There was a thing where was it Bethany talking to Sarah about whether she could take Glenda on in a fight? Who do you think? Who would you put your money on, Glenda and Sarah?
Glenda's snap her in half.
Absolutely.
Because she'd probably find Sarah key in her car.
Okay, so other Platts story then. We got Shona, David, and the whole Clayton situation. Let's have a rundown what's gone on there.
Is it my go?
This is your turn, yeah.
Right, so Shona's still insisting to go and see Clayton, and David's like, well, I'll come with you then if that's what you want. But when they get to the prison, there's a family liaison officer there, and she's getting...
they go and see the governor, don't they?
She's like, how could you let him do this? Like, you let him get hold of drugs, you didn't let me visit, and...
This is when he tried to take his own life. I can't remember whether it had been made clear earlier how Clayton had tried to do it.
They're not supposed to. They're never. Look, if you've ever wondered,
it was an overdose.
If you've ever wondered why there's never information about how somebody has decided to do this, it's because under the guidelines of reporting, as far as we know, the best practice is that you don't report methods because people will copy them.
Yeah.
So
I think they were vague enough.
Is probably skirting.
I think they were vague enough that
Well,
they
yeah.
got away with
I
it.
mean, you can imagine.
Yeah.
It's not like the Great Leap, is it?
No.
Anyway, so she's like, you never even told me what's going on, and the governor's like, well, we sent you emails, we sent you post with visiting orders in it. She's like, no, I never had any of that. We never had any posts, never had any emails, or they went into my junk folder. And the man's like, well, someone came to visit.
That was interesting. Like the fact that he wasn't allowed or obliged to say who it was.
I think he's not allowed to say.
Yeah, but he clearly knows it.
Do you think
it's
he
that
knows
guy
it's
sitting
David?
I don't know. He didn't like give him a look, did he?
He didn't go,
yeah.
well, maybe you should ask the person sitting next to you. He's like, I can't tell you, it's confidential. And David's like, oh, this is worth the time, we should just go. Because obviously he wants to leave before any awkward questions get asked. And Shona flat out asks him, was it you? And David's like, no, but she doesn't believe him.
Yeah,
and
he's been acting
like,
a little bit too cagey. Finally, she's clocked it.
Are you sure? Like, you have to tell, this is important. This is a turning point. You've got to tell me. And he's like, no, I would never know. And so she's calming down a bit later, and she decides whether or not to send Clayton a letter. And Max comes in and she tells him everything that's going on. And then she goes off for a walk, and Max tells David, is like, you're the one that did all this.
Yeah, he's put it together, because David has been acting a little bit.
I know how this works. I was in prison. I know how these things work. I think you're behind it.
Yeah, he talked about the fact that visiting orders were the be-all and end-all of being in prison, and they don't screw that up.
No. He's like, you wouldn't be able to screw this up. Everyone would have a riot. Do you remember riots in prison, David?
It was funny, the fact that there's so many of them that can talk about from personal experience what it's like in prison. There was another scene, I think it must have been part of this story, where David and Sarah talked about having Callum's body hidden under the annex and just having like a casual conversation. Hearing it out loud just did make it seem so ridiculous. And the more that they're pushing the envelope with how many of these bombastic, crazy stories they're going to have, the more that characters can just have these casual conversations about,
it's really funny.
Remember the time when? And it's like, maybe we don't want them to. We're all calling out for callbacks and
well, yeah,
and remember when this happens. But actually, if they're if you're mentioning all these outrageous things, it just sounds stupid.
Well, this is what, we spoke to Joe Parkinson, and one of the things he said to us was like, you just can't have callbacks to everything, and every time anybody has gone through something similar, because you just hold up the action and everyone would just be talking about
and
what
traumatized with PTSD.
I know, yeah. You got to move on. So, Shona on this walk has decided to go to see Adam. And she's like, I want to sue the prison. They screwed this up. They should have sent me visiting orders. And, well, Adam's like, well, if we write them a very strongly worded letter, we might be able to open some doors. Not literally, because then the prison would be empty. But it could work wonders. So she goes home and she feels pretty satisfied with, well, no, she's not. She's feeling hopeless. Sorry, I read that wrong.
Not quite the same thing.
She's like, I don't know whether this is going to work. I don't know what to do. And then she takes comfort in David's arms, and they have a snog, and they go upstairs. With the curtains blow.
This was the beginnings of a hang on a minute, what's going on here? Because they don't often show characters going up to bed with the come to bed eyes for no good reason.
Characters will rarely ever sleep with each other, but unless they're having an affair, they're getting together, or it's Sally and Tim having a comedy shag. You're
right. Just the normal husband and wife. Fancy a bit of How's Your Father? That doesn't really ever happen, does it?
It's usually a character, but like, somebody like Tracy, it's to show her animal magnetism, or like Karen, it was because she wanted to get pregnant.
Yeah,
it was notable.
Yeah. and it got everyone's brains whirring about
pregnant.
Is she gonna get pregnant? Up the podge, as David calls it.
Ugh, that just sounds. I'm sorry. Look, this is graphic. I hope there are no children listening, but it conjures up the image of Mod Podge, which looks like something you might get pregnant from. It's like the gloopy glue. You know the white gloopy glue you use at school.
PVA. Mod Podge.
I think that's what they call it in America.
Oh, I've never heard that.
And so I'm just visualising.
Oh, I don't want to know.
what? Anyway, on Wednesday,
David is just being so stupid, isn't he? Talking about Leanne taking risks earlier, David, he was just so laid back and like, I'll be able to get away with this.
he's being very lackadaisical, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. And I can't remember, I don't remember which episode it was that he says to Max, like, Max is like, what are you going to do? And he's just like, well, I'll keep on lying through my teeth and hope it all blows over. Seriously? And the
It's
question
always worked before.
is he going to learn from
No.
what's the fallout's been today?
Yeah, well, Max confronts him, and he won't admit anything, but it's obvious. And he just says, I'm just gonna wing it. Shona gets a taxi from Streetcars from Steve, and she says, look, don't tell anybody where I'm going or mention this to anybody. It's secret. Don't even tell anyone where we're going. So Steve just goes to see Max and says, is Shona all right? You know there's no such thing as taxi driver confidentiality, don't you? I've taken her to the prison, and she was muttering about making a stink, and she was standing there just staring
outside the prison,
and I drove past and she was still there and she's not moved. It's a bit odd. And so Max is like, you need to take me there immediately. So they drive out to the front. So if you've been to the gates of Coronation Street Studios, you will recognise this is the area where everybody drives in and out.
I want to know what happens, like, was that done on a day when there were gate lurkers? When some of the how often do people stand outside those gates waiting for people to go in and out for autographs? And how lucky would you feel if you happened to go there on that day and everyone's like, look, can you clear
Just
off? We're about to
there.
film. You'd like, brilliant.
I know. They
Did they close the road down? I don't know.
I don't think they needed to. There's nobody drove past though, did they?
I don't remember.
Also, like if somebody's late for work and they're like, I've got to get in there because I've got a scene, they're like, sorry, filming.
Yeah. But interesting how that prison looked very much similar to the place where Billy was having his little phone call with Paul on the day that he died, isn't it?
So they put all the signs out, Highfield Prison and everything. So that was fun. Max and Steve get to where the prison is, and Shona's starting to yell. The governor's decided to come outside the security gates, which seems like a bit of a bad move.
Yeah, Shona's telling him,
like, you never
how
sent any letters, you lied, you didn't see. And Max jumps in and he's like, shut up, Shona, David lied to you, they did send letters. And the prisoner people are like, sorry, we're going. And Max tries to... She does try to attack the governor.
Yeah. Well, this was kind of new post shot in a box Shona. I don't think the old Shona would have done that, but equally, I've said recently,
very rational decisions.
No, but she's still got enough of the old Shona in her that she's not completely loony.
So, Max is trying to smooth things over, but Shona's mad as hell. So she goes to the salon, Max following her, and she's like, how could you, David? Come back home, I'm going to shout at you.
Max was very wise and zen, and he was almost parenting David this week, wasn't he? He's like, considering everything that's been going on in his life recently, he's able to offer some very sage, calm advice. Very grown up.
Emotionally mature than David. David's not grown at all, has he?
No.
He's not matured. So back at home, David's like, sorry, but I did it for your own good though. And she's like, no, you don't get to make those decisions. And
yeah, even now he's trying to backpedal.
Well, he's trying to blame it on her again. Like, it's your fault. You can't be trusted.
Yeah, we were outraged with David when we found out that he was trying to gaslight her, and so she's just getting that. But it was actually about her, so no wonder he's not got a leg to stand on. But he's still trying to say, he's trying to justify himself.
He's like, look, do you not remember the time you were at knife point? Clayton does not deserve help. He's killed my wife. He tried to kill you. And then this is when Shona puts it together that it was clearly David who visited Clayton, and she cannot believe it when he admits that he told Clayton that she didn't want to go to see him.
He's been absolutely abysmal to her. Sorry,
I know.
And I like the thing is I like the drama bit. It's the same with Toya, Nick, and Leanne. These are characters that I love. I like it when they get on. But they're really fun to watch when they're exploding apart and everything's crumbling. And I adore David and Shona as a couple, but these arguments that they've been going through have been top quality. I've been on the edge of my seat. I've loved it. Jack and
Julia.
and Jules have been at top of their game with these scenes this week. There is this little voice in the back of my head going, "Oh, I hope they make up together in the end." But for the moment, I'm just like, "Yeah, bring it on."
Although I don't agree with everything David's done, or most of what David's done, the motivations for both these characters is so perfect for setting up this conflict.
What, David and his long-standing grudge? I mean, can you even call it a grudge?
Like, what does she expect? At the end, like, next Christmas, Clayton's out and they're having turkey.
Yeah.
That is never going to happen. And I've always said this about these two. As long as Clayton's alive, there's going to be this wedge.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Anyway.
I wonder how different... Was there the temptation to kill Clayton off? And would that have made things even worse? Like, I think...
No, it's better for him to be alive.
It felt like at the beginning of the story, when he was in prison and David and Shona were getting together, that it was every, 6 months to 12 months, it felt like that Shona would mention him again, or Clayton would rear his ugly head, and then it'd be a... And I used to think, I just wish he'd go away because he's getting in the way of this couple getting together that I really enjoy. But it's been a while. It's been a good 4 or 5 years since we've seen Clayton. But I it does feel like in order for this couple who I want to stay together to put this to bed once and for all, you're right, Clayton needs to die, because Shona clearly can't stop loving him. She is his mum after all. I mean, it's the classic Vera Duckworth situation with Terry, isn't it? He was absolutely dreadful to her. I mean, he didn't murder anybody, but Terry was an utter ass.
Betrayed her.
And Vera just kept going back and back and back. But I suppose with Vera, it was more a case of she was getting on a little bit, and she wasn't as... I don't know, she wasn't as sharp as Shona.
There's always the thing when you're, the parent of, in fiction, because obviously you don't know about real life, but the issue is that the parent blames themselves for the things the child has done wrong. So at the back of her head, Shona's thinking, if I had done something differently, Clayton might have turned out differently, and he might not have done, how much of what he's done is actually because of me. How can I blame him for the things he's done wrong when I contributed? Yeah,
but I don't think that Vera ever really thought that. I think Vera was like, "Oh, Terry's sorry. He doesn't know what he's doing. Come on, Jack." And Jack was there, and I can't believe you can't see this. He's, he sold our grandson. He ran away when he was supposed to be donating a kidney, and Vera's like, "Oh yeah." Well, she was just always forgiving him, and I don't think Shona's not saying, "Oh, he didn't mean to kill Kylie."
She's not made any excuses for him ever.
Clayton has apparently seen the light, hasn't he? But she's not really mentioning that.
Well, she's not trying to make David forgive. The thing is, I think they're both saying, I get why you think, why you feel the way you feel about it, but it doesn't have any effect on how I feel.
Yeah. But I really liked what Max said today, being the peacemaker, which was what's more important to you, your hatred for Clayton or your love for Shona, and that perfectly summarised what David needed to consider. And he used that line when he was apologising to Shona, didn't he? He basically used
how much can you paper over? Go on, sorry.
Yeah, he used his son, because his son is more emotionally mature than he is, that he gave him the line that actually calmed Shona down in the end.
So, as they're arguing, Kit comes and arrests Shona for having a go. So later on, Sarah's having a go at David, explaining to him what exactly he's done wrong, and that, we're not whiter than white, we hid a body in the Alex. Why don't you go see Shona, salvage this relationship? And at the police station, Shona's being very defiant. She's like, I barely touched him, and I don't,
The prison guy, yeah.
And she's starting to seem like she's regretting this relationship she's got with David. And when he comes to get her from the station, she won't even talk to him. So they end up back at home, and this is when Max tries to convince him to see things from her perspective. And they kind of have a very good bonding moment, don't they, Max and David?
Yeah, Max is really growing up, but we're seeing with the fact that he's
a father now.
Well, yeah, exactly. He wants to adopt Frankie, and he's growing into a fine young man, just with a bit of a Nazi past.
How much of this is that moralistic idealism that led him into his stupid propaganda in the first place, where he had this very naive sense of like what is right and what is wrong? Somebody came and told me that this is wrong, these people shouldn't be here, we've got more right than they do, that, you know, it's only protecting your own heritage and all of the rest of it. And I still see that kind of that idealistic. I know that is not the right word to use for a racist, but that, what do I mean? I don't mean idealistic, like ideological.
Yeah.
I don't really know the word I'm looking for.
No, I know what you mean.
But that zealotry of like, I know what is the right thing to do, and maybe he's right in this situation, but he does seem to, Max, have these very set ideas, and that he doesn't take, once he's made a decision, he doesn't seem to take anything else into consideration. Like this relationship with Lauren and adopting Frankie is such a harebrained idea, but he's decided it's the morally correct thing to do, and so he's going to do it by hell or high water. Anyway, it's an interesting character trait. I wonder whether Coronation Street is seeing that in him as well as I am.
It's interesting to see what that they are actually trying to develop him as a character, and since Paddy's taken over,
doing a good job, really great job.
Because before Max was, you know, Harry McDermott, Max was just the smiling cute kid, and even, you know, when Paddy took over, he felt a little directionless, and they didn't really know what they were doing with him, because he was still a teenager, and I can't remember how old he's even supposed to be now, but I'm getting a sense that he's growing up.
Yeah. But you see, what I'm saying with him is that when you're convinced you're morally correct, you can be led down many paths, and some of which create great evil.
Yeah.
And this is what I say to a lot of people, like, don't ever be so convinced that you're completely right about anything, because that is a dark way to go. And I can just see it with Max. And I really hope that Coronation Street does stick a little bit with this, because think of all the things he's done in his life, and he's been convinced that he's right every time he's done it.
Yeah.
And it's different between him and David, because David just lurches from one selfish feeling to another, doesn't he?
Everything's just a laugh for him.
Yeah, he doesn't take things seriously, and he hurts people when they hurt him. Whereas, anyway, so Steve drops Shona back at the house, and she doesn't really want to go in, and so she asks him to take her to town, and it looks like she's up to something. What is it?
Yeah, again, like the last scene on Monday's episode when we were like, oh, hang on a minute, is she going to get pregnant? This very much felt like is she going to go and have a one-night stand with her? Which it turned out that she did. I don't know whether that feels like a Shona thing to do, but equally, she is a massive loose cannon, isn't she? Or a bit like Bethany and Sarah Louise. She acts on impulse sometimes, but it didn't feel completely true to character that she would end up in bed with anybody, let alone Kit, the evening that he arrests her. I know, but oh well, it's added some juicy.
I recall now, because I was saying, I don't know if I said it in this podcast or just in short, about you said, oh, could Shona still be pregnant even though she's taken the morning after pill? And I was like, I'm sure there was a time when the morning after pill didn't work, and obviously it was Toya. We don't know if she actually took after she was raped. We don't know if she actually took the pill or not, but it certainly didn't work.
It implied that, yeah.
And so I don't know if it would be utterly ridiculous to have a story in the same year where a character has taken a pill, an emergency contraceptive pill that fails.
I mean, that was,
I know it was
20 years ago.
But it's the story was revealed to us this year. So I'm going to take that as a this year story.
I think people have forgotten about that already, to be honest.
I think there's also a bit of social responsibility here to not scare people into not taking it, because if you feel that you need to take emergency contraception, you certainly shouldn't go, oh yeah, but Shona got pregnant.
But what if it doesn't work? Yeah.
Give it a bash, I say.
I like the idea of Shona being pregnant does not
doesn't excite
do
me at all.
anything for me. It's like, it leaves me cold. I do not want
but
this
we say
character
that about every
who's
pregnancy.
Yeah, but the thing with Shona is I love her so much. She's one of my favourite characters. I don't need her to be lumbered with a baby, especially not in a Who's the Daddy plot. I like, part of me likes the, ooh, who will it be? But really, a baby is a big commitment for a character.
Yeah.
And we're
And a
just...
person.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Real life, fiction, whatever. So I don't think it's worth lumbering her with a baby just for the cheap thrill of a Who's the Daddy plot.
I know.
So I really, really hope that this morning after pill she's taken has worked.
It's not as dramatic if it does, though.
Yeah.
Can I just add in a disclaimer here? Like, we're talking about, pregnancy storylines, very boring. I don't like them, find them. I don't think it's ever been something I'm excited to... I don't know, I'm not sure. DD's kind of interesting, but what I want, and I don't think I've ever seen in Coronation Street since I've been watching it properly, that I've seen clips of other stuff. I want to see a pregnancy storyline where two people love each other, like they say to children. They love each other very much, and they decide to create a child together in happiness and love, and they struggle maybe, and they have some tough tests ahead of them and challenges, but on the whole they don't regret it. They stay together, they have a baby, everything's fine, and they enjoy and cherish the child.
I'm sure it has happened occasionally, but you're right, most babies that are conceived are not in a loving relationship.
I don't think there's been a planned pregnancy on Coronation Street for years.
No.
Can we have one, please?
But I don't want it to be Shona.
I don't want it to be Shona, and this wouldn't be it anyway, because she obviously has taken she's taken a pill, so she wasn't. It's not like it's a smooth start.
It's funny because I was not against the idea of Tyrone and Fizz having a baby when Fizz thought that she was up the duff a month or two ago.
Yeah, we thought that might be sweet.
But
that would be the Coronation Street shot at it.
It's because the Dobbs State family are kind of a cosy family that I think a baby would tie them nicely together, and they've got their separate children, and this would be one together. And I know that David and Shona don't have a child together, but they're a lot more fun and carefree, and I think that having a baby would massively tie them down.
Yeah.
So I don't need to see that.
Yeah, but I would like to see a happy pregnancy. I think it would be a lovely thing to model on television.
Well, let's get a happy couple first that aren't falling out every 5 minutes before we go too far with that. Right. So let's just want to run down what exactly happened on Friday then.
Friday, Roy tells David that Shona's not coming into work because she's got a headache. So he's like, runs home to find her there. And David tells her, I've been worried sick, and she doesn't seem to care about it. Max tries to diffuse everything, but David's like, look, give us a moment. I need to talk to Shona. And Shona's like, no, I've got to have a shower. So
she is like making David sweat, isn't she? And I think lots of couples will have been in situations like this, and David is feeling the pressure and he's cringing, and he knows at this point that he is massively in the doghouse, and he's definitely really worrying about the state of his relationship, and is this the end? I really did appreciate it later on in the episode in the cafe when Shona is saying to him, look, obviously I'm not going to split up with you. Why would I split up? I'm married to you, I'm committed to you, I'm just really, really peed off, leave me alone. And yeah, that was great, and it made me have hope that there is still something to salvage here, because it's such a soap thing that couples will have an argument about one thing and that's it, and they're all over. But I love these as a couple, and it's nice that Corrie hopefully also believes in a long-term future for them too, despite the fact that, in the past couple of weeks both have done pretty unforgivable things, haven't they?
Yeah. David's trying that trick where he has done terrible actions and tries to diffuse it by trying to find the correct combination of words.
Yeah.
But if he was that bothered about it, he wouldn't have done the things that made her mad in the first place.
He has got no excuse for gaslighting her. What an utter arsey move that was.
And then lying as well.
Yeah, just thinking of himself. And yeah, I totally get that he doesn't want Clayton as part of his life, but saying to Shona, you are brain damaged, aren't you? Sorry, that was a utter git move.
So She comes out of the shower and David's trying to stop her going to work, and he's got nothing really to say except he's like, I can't not hate him, and I really sometimes we do things we shouldn't. Shona's like, oh, don't say that.
Yeah, she was like, go on then, let's hear your apology, and he's just got nothing, has he?
Not
She's
really.
like, you haven't you've had all this time and you can't even think of...
Like, please, you can trust me, give me another chance. And she says, look, Clayton is always going to come between us, and I'd never do to you what you've done to me. And then she gets even more worked up thinking about it and goes to work, and David's left by himself.
That was interesting knowing what we know now, the fact that she said that when she has actually done something pretty terrible in sleeping with Kit.
I'm just trying to think if he's cheated on her.
Well, I was wondering about this earlier. I know that when she was in hospital and kind of forgot who he was and was sending him away, he had that little fling with Alina, didn't he? But I don't think that they actually... I think that they almost did, but Seb walked in on him with his top off and her in a bra and pants. I don't think they actually bonked, but he would have done. So, but then you can't do tit for tat, really, can you?
I'm not clear on the rules, but I don't believe so.
Yeah.
So
it's not you almost did it once with Alina, therefore I can do it once with Kit. You could maybe do it almost with someone. No,
anyway,
Adam
comes into the cafe and wants to. He's like, "Should we talk about last night?" She's like, "No, I'm not going there." David comes in with flowers, and Adam and Shona exchange looks, and David's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about everything. I can't help." And she's like, "Look, just can you go, please?"
This was great. This is the misdirection there with Adam.
Yeah, really clever.
Yeah.
Max finds David on the sofa with the dog, and there's been so much David the dog recently.
David the dog's been in it loads.
I love him.
David the human has needed a lot of comforting because he's not been getting it from Shona.
I would so love to be. If I was on a soap, I would be like, "Can I have a pet, please?" I would love a pet.
Yeah, I wonder whether you can request one. I mean,
bet
Simon
you can
Gregson
request
brought
what
in
you
his
like,
own
but
dog, didn't
you're
he?
not necessarily going to get it.
We had Rover the dog,
Yeah.
played by Steve's dog,
The fact
Simon's dog Cookie.
Didn't work out as much with as much Cookie as I thought it would do makes me think there's so many things more than just the availability of the dog that go into how easy it is to get a dog on screen. There must be so many other things.
Yeah, quite a lot of red tape and health and safety considerations
and everything.
there.
And also, is the dog in a union? Also, could the dog, if not, could the work be done by a union dog?
Is the dog going to be fighting for a minimum episode contract for the year?
Maybe Cookie got too big for her boots. Right, so Max is like feeling pretty regretful. That Max finds David, he's feeling regretful. And Max says, look, you just need to be nice and not be such a dick. And David's like, I cannot stop hating Clayton. And this is when Max is like, look, I hate him as well, but don't let it get in the way of your love for Shona. Roy notices at work that Shona is not coping very well, and she says, Roy, I've done something terrible. I wish I could take it back. And she kind of fills him in about her argument with David, and she says, I've done some things I shouldn't have done. I love him, but I hate him so much right now, but I love him. And Roy's like, everyone makes mistakes, but you got to keep talking and find a way through. I
don't think that Shona actually did tell Roy everything, did she?
She kind of like misdirects as well by saying that she's actually got a hangover and she's not just got a headache.
Yeah.
So David's like, how can I prove my love? If words don't work, maybe actions will. I will decorate the house with Christmas decorations. Shona comes in.
Excellent man response. This is what you do, isn't it? This works.
Could have tidied up, could have painted something or fixed something, but no, just...
I mean, he's moving on from earlier when he didn't have anything to say.
Putting all of the baubles on the wrong way, reds next to reds, greens next to greens. Absolute disgrace. Anyway, she's like, we need to talk.
That tree was pretty ratty, wasn't it?
I
don't want to be a Christmas tree snob.
You can't be a Christmas tree snob. But everyone has the Christmas tree they want, don't they? Unless they have problems with money. If your Christmas tree is how you want it to be, whatever colour you want, whatever you want, tinsel, you don't want tinsel, you want lights, you want coloured lights, you want tartan, you want red, you want green, you want whatever you want. I love it. Whatever. Send me a picture of your Christmas tree.
Okay.
I love all Christmas trees. We have our Christmas tree style. Other people have theirs.
It just for me, I was kind of. I was just thinking it looked
You know
like...
you're not an interior decorator, don't you?
No, yeah, it just felt to me like it was something that they pulled out the back of the prop store and it's like, yeah,
but
this
that
could
is
be
a very
the Platts.
Platt thing, though, isn't it? It was the Platt Christmas tree. It had coloured lights on it, and it was a plastic tree. I don't think anyone's going to have a real tree on Corrie, because I just think that it wouldn't last in the studio.
Yeah, that's
true. It would just drop needles everywhere.
Yeah. Bet Audrey's got one at Grasmere Drive, though.
Audrey's probably just, like, chops one down from a massive garden. Right, so David's trying to explain, like, how important she is and says, look, you're more important to me than me and what I think about Clayton.
Yeah, this is when he basically used Max's advice because he couldn't think of anything better himself.
So they're more relaxed and she goes to make a cup of tea and David looks through her bag and finds he's put in the mirror bag because he used to look at his hair because he had tinsel in his hair, which I think is just an excuse for Jack B. Shepherd to show off his beautiful hair. So he finds
beautiful plugged locks.
He finds this emergency contraception.
Yeah,
and confronts her about this.
They kind of hinted at it a few scenes earlier when Shona had put her bag down in the cafe.
Yeah,
and they kind of zoomed into it. Are we supposed to be seeing anything here? Is that a pregnancy kit? But it wasn't obvious, was it? There we go. But no, it was some plan B.
Yes. So David's like, "What? Why have you taken this just after we slept together? Are you punishing me, or is it also bad that you can't imagine having my child?" And she's like, "I didn't even know if we were going to get back together." So
I like that David jumped to this conclusion because I would have thought that you'd jump to the immediate soap star or soap character conclusion of who you had it off with. But yeah,
well, he knows that they had.
Yeah, exactly. He knows that they did it to the other night.
It's like we never do it normally.
But
we're not that kind of characters.
But when they did they not take any precautions anyway? Or
well, she already said before that she wanted to have. She was thinking about having a baby. Do you remember? Yeah, she said before.
Oh, okay.
Also, look, some couples leave it to the lady, and maybe she's like, "Oh crap, I did forget to take my pills."
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, he seems to kind of like buy it.
Yeah.
But then David goes to the shop to pick up some wine, and Daniel's there, and he tells David that Shona stayed at his house because Adam's staying with him at the moment. Adam slept on the sofa, and Shona slept in his bed.
Again, all through this, I was completely taken in by it and thinking, oh right, yeah, this is a bit like when Lauren supposedly slept on the sofa during the night of Joel's murder, and I 100% fell for this and thought, no, she didn't. She did it with Adam.
So
I was not ready to be taken aback by the surprising revelation at the end of the episode that came out of nowhere.
David storms off home, confronts Shona, and she's like, "I did not sleep with Adam. No, I didn't. He just let me sleep in a bed for the night."
He's like, Adam, he only has to look at a woman and she's horizontal.
I know. So David then goes, "Right, I'll ask Adam then." So they go to the office and wait for him to come in, and they kind of pounce on him when he comes in. And David's like, "Did you sleep with Shona last night?" And I was like, "No." And
it doesn't take David long to believe him.
Adam's like, everyone knows that Shona loves you, but none of us know why.
I was expecting David to leave the office then and Adam and Shona to go, "Oh, I think we got away with that."
Yeah.
But they didn't.
So David's like, sorry then. So they go back home, end up at the pub, and then David's like apologising to Adam and saying, "Come and sit with us. I'm sorry about everything." So David is getting the beers in, and Adam and Shona are whispering, but it turns out she did sleep with somebody, but it just wasn't Adam. And as she hurries out of the pub,
Adam knows, doesn't he?
She can't bear to be in the presence of Adam and David at the moment, knowing that Adam knows what she's done and David doesn't. So she rushes home, and on the way out, she bumps into Kit. And she says, "Last night never happened, do you get me?" Yeah,
because he says, "Sure, should we talk about last night?"
Yeah, and she's like, "No!"
Oh, Shona, come on. Kit, what are you... Oh, man. It doesn't make any sense. He did just... Apart from the fact that he just arrested you earlier that day...
Oh my God, sexy handcuffs.
Oh, yeah, maybe there was a bit of sexy handcuffs with it.
I wonder, do you reckon when you join the force, do you think they'd go to you, "Look, we're going to tell you not to, but we know you will. So here's some wipes."
Grim. So where's this Where's this going now?
I don't know.
And when David finds out, which he obviously will, has he got any legs to stand on? Or is it going to be a fair square, I was a bit of a get to you? Is David going to be the morally superior one? Who's done the worst thing, if you can compare?
I know this happens quite often in Corrie, where the moral high ground swings violently from one to another.
Because I think that people would argue both sides. I mean, some people would argue for one person.
Well, that's why it's good.
I mean, I was utterly disgusted by David when he gaslit Shona. And then with the Shona Stephen McKitt, as much as I think it's repulsive, I'm also thinking, oh, this kind of thing happens on soap all the time. It's like, it's just
eroding our moral boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying in real life it's a good thing to do, but I'm strangely less concerned.
I think it's eroding. I think it's chipping away at you.
Yeah, but who
knows what you'll get up to.
Grounds for divorce, having a one night stand, adultery is. But gaslighting your significant other isn't.
You can't say to somebody, you've got brain damage, therefore I can manipulate you, and then also go, you're completely responsible for everything, all of the bad decisions that you make.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't have it both ways here. Not that I'm saying she's absolved of responsibility, because I think she's a lot more competent than he gives her credit for. And at the end of the day, there are some storylines that I take quite seriously, and I find myself really invested in, and I can get outraged and I feel moved by. And there are other ones that I just don't. I just kind of just love the drama, and it's like I'm watching.
I think I'm that with this.
It's like I'm standing at the back door, going, I can hear them. Can you hear them shouting? And this is that. Like, I'm just loving the drama. I'm not making judgments on anybody. Even David, I know everyone keeps saying, oh, he's abhorrent, isn't he awful, isn't he repulsive, how could he? I'm like, it's kind of funny because David's an arse, and like Shona,
it's Richard Hillman's fault, it's not his fault.
I'm not taking this seriously.
No.
But I am really enjoying it, and I don't want to diminish it and sort of say it's not a serious storyline, because it clearly is. I mean, it's about a guy who's married to his wife's murderer. There's a lot of serious stuff going on in it, but it's just so soapy that I'm just on a bit of a roller coaster ride with it.
I think
I'm not writing a thesis on it like I do with other storylines.
I'm wondering how this is actually going to affect Shona, and is she going to be spiraling down a path of guilt here? And how is David going to find out? Will it be Adam that tells him? Will it be Kit who
crows about it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's Kit got to lose? He's not.
No, he doesn't care.
He's not dating anyone at the moment.
People...
I mean, Daisy. The thing is, Kit did this the same episode that Daisy had that. I don't think I like going out with the cop sort of speech. So he was sent away from the Rovers with a flea in his ear, and I think that Daisy was a bit out of order.
Yeah,
having a go at him for celebrating a win.
Doing his job.
This had been a big murder case, so it's natural that they're gonna go to the pub and celebrate.
You don't become a police officer if you're like, I'm not really bothered about justice.
Yeah, and I know justice involved getting one of their neighbours sent down.
She doesn't even know Lauren.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I appreciated. I assume the listeners, a lot of you picked this up as well. But PC Jess got a mention in this as also being in the Flying Horse when they were having the drinks the other day. This, like I said, this week's Coronation Street was just the remember that episode, and yeah, I'm all for it.
You know, you sort of saying about Shona and maybe she could still get pregnant and the morning after pill. We all know nothing's 100% of anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about that is that would be two very unexpected pregnancies in a year, not even a year. Because Dee Dee was all like, I'm no sex before marriage for me.
Yeah.
And then she gets pregnant, like one time she sleeps with this guy, and then Shona would be like, oh, don't want a baby, better take emergency contraception, and I'm
only sleeping with this guy once. Yeah. I
wouldn't want those two back to back, really. I'm much more interested in Dee Dee's pregnancy.
I wonder if she
would be in Shona's.
If she does get pregnant, is David's gonna start suspecting Adam again? I think it would be natural for him to go to that, but or would he think, oh no, it's mine? I don't know. Don't know. The thing with the Who's the Daddy storyline, I suppose, was that he has all. I say we don't have them very often in Corrie, but he was involved in the one with Kylie, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Where it was who's, yeah, is Lily David's baby or is she Nick's? Yeah, I don't need to go there. I like the drama of there's been Kit, but I wish it wasn't Kit. And as far as I'm concerned, he can go right out of the story now. I don't like Kit. I don't need Kit being the fly in the
really
ointment
hate
of
Kit that
this
much?
Platts story. I really don't get on with him.
You're not supposed to like him.
I know,
to be clear, and
but
I don't.
he's not a love to hate. I just
He is to me.
no.
I know lots of people hate him and get annoyed if anyone says anything positive about him, but I just like the cat among the pigeons.
Maybe this story, if he is more involved, will get me
He's
more
so
into him.
smarmy, isn't he? So smug.
Yeah. But if
He's so funny.
this other story we said was gonna shake up the Daisy, Ryan, Bethany, like, is Daisy gonna forgive Kit? Because when she sent him away from the pub on Wednesday, it didn't feel like a no way are we getting back together. What a mistake it was to even, deign to go on a date with you. I got a feeling that maybe Monday she's gonna be like, look, sorry, I really didn't like you crowing about Lauren being sent down. Do you want to give it another try? So maybe they will be a couple for a little bit longer, and then she's gonna find out somehow about what he did with Shona. I don't know, but
anyway,
I just loved everything about this week's Coronation Street. So
is that the end of the
if
stories?
spirals, no, there's more. So if there's more of that to come, then great. No, there was a little bit. And I kind of separated this off. There was the hashtag jail stuff, which is the Jessie and Gail.
Oh,
there were two scenes. Yes, a rare Gail sighting was made in two scenes on Friday's episode. Which was basically her saying, no, Jessie said that his house money is coming through soon, so he could use it to pay off the bridging loan that Gail got out on number 8, so she doesn't have to sell it anymore. And she's like, well, actually, I quite like the idea of selling it. Although she doesn't really want to move to the south of France, which is where he's suggesting. She'd much rather go to one of those new houses on near the Red Wreck. I really enjoyed the Christmas tree scene that they had at the end of the episode. It was just kind of warm and cozy, wasn't it? Finishing off the decorating together, the lights go on, then the power cut happens. I think, a lot of people are struggling to buy Jessie and Gail relationship, partly because they just wanted it to be Martin.
Well, partly because we don't see it.
Yeah, but I think that with the minimal screen time we've had with them as a couple, I think that they're actually quite a sweet couple.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I enjoyed those scenes for what little they were.
It's kind of like asking a lot of the viewers to kind of
It really is.
Believe this relationship that has taken place like 95% off screen.
Yeah, totally. I can't. Was it on Wednesday's episode they had the line of, "Oh, Gail's at Jessie's house again." They're making so many excuses for her not to be on screen. It's starting to. Well, it's not starting. It's already feeling weird.
I just find it funny that he's like saying, "Oh, let's go live in the south of France." Like, I know people do that, and they definitely do on Coronation Street, but how hard would that really be?
Well, that's where Raquel ended up, isn't it?
I wouldn't want to live in the south of France, too hot.
Well, lots of people don't mind that, so I'm sure Gail would have a lovely time. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Let's just the only other story that's left is this Alia and Adam story. There seems that there is so much crossover between the stories here, because this is Adam's other story for the week, which was just will they, won't they with Adam and Alia. This was, by quite a wide margin, the story that I cared least about this week.
Yeah, they're getting together. She sees he's got a dating app notification. She gets mad. She brushes him off. She tells Yasmin he's a player. And then Adam confronts her and says, "Why are you giving me the cold shoulder?" And then he says, "Oh, I forgot it was there. I'll delete it." And she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, she's like, that doesn't necessarily stop me thinking that you're a bit of a dirty dog. So, but then he goes to speed dial and he kind of charms her into going back out with her again. He's like, "Oh, there's only so much rejection that a man with an ego my size can take," and she agrees to have another chance with him, and that's it. So when in the Shona story, I was thinking that Shona has had a wicked way with Adam. I thought that this would then be spiraling into, you know, a Shona versus Alia.
Well, it still might end up that way.
You're right. If David starts to suspect
does not
again,
believe that they didn't sleep together.
He does. I think that David at this moment, he the way he was acting is like, oh yeah, because he invited Adam to have a drink.
Yeah, he
with
doesn't
him.
think they slept together.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, but if she starts looking a bit suspicious, or if she starts showing, if this is going to be a pregnant,
showing.
Oh, there we go. Then he's gonna tell. He's probably going to announce to all and sundry in the pub, Adam slept with Shona, and then Alia's going to be like, "Oh,
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I knew that you were a player.
Yeah." So
why should I believe you?
But seriously, this is how you don't do a relationship story if you want to make it at all interesting to watch, because I just don't get the chemistry between them.
Not everything can be the best.
No, but they clearly really want to push this, and they're just not. It's not that they're not suited; they're just not interested. They maybe are suited.
Adam can do relationship stories. I think every time he's in a relationship, I just find it boring, because I don't buy. I think he's smarmy and shallow.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him with a girl I think, oh, what a lovely couple they make.
They should settle down together.
No,
and it's not like he's a charming, player like a Mike. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a ladies' man who you don't mind, or like you kind of take it as read that he's going to be playing the field all the time.
Yeah,
he's not that kind of character either. He just like seems to be, I accidentally slept with someone again.
He's just a bit. I just don't really get on with him. I find him unlikable, and Alia is a bit dull. It sucks, but that was
getting them a wedding present.
No, that was a very minor part of the week. Overall, I really loved it. I thought that the Battersby drama was explosive and
Loved it.
Salivating what's going to be next for Leanne's revenge.
I thought that the Les Battersby stuff was very interesting.
Yeah,
and what will happen, intriguing too.
I'm really intrigued about
the gritty details of what happened at the abattoir.
I don't know. I mean, could this just be a way of getting Chesney a big payout?
Did Les get made into lasagna?
Lasagna? Maybe.
We don't know. I mean, horse meat. What's next?
I thought that the Shona stuff amazing. Even the Bethany story I didn't mind too much. I don't think this is like a 4.5 week for me. It was close, but I thought every episode I gave a bang in on those Street Talk shorts, and I definitely stand by that. I'm going to give this a very, very strong and almost up to the next grade up for serious brain injuries that inhibit impulse control out of 5.
I'm going to give it 4 one-woman pity parties. Who's your character of the week?
It's one of those weeks where there's so many to choose from, and that's, like we've said before, that's how you can tell it's a good week. My heart tells me Shona. But equally, she has been a bit of a naughty girl, and that counts against her. But then, I suppose to me, it's between Shona and Leanne. And Leanne has also been a naughty girl this week.
These women, I'll tell you what, there's something in the water.
And I'm also clouded a little bit what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, where who's had the most character of the weeks.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that.
And if we
that shouldn't be part of your.
I know it shouldn't, but I can't make it not now. And if we give Leanne a character of the week, then that puts her head to head with Artoya.
And who else was in the same one as her?
Yasmin.
Okay.
But David was really fun to watch, as abhorrent as his behaviour was. Sarah was very, very Sarah-ish.
I know, but
and Nick was kind of fun with just his desperation.
Nick. What about Rowan? Final chance.
Oh no, Rowan wasn't character.
I was gonna say Leanne.
Oh yeah. I think
I'm not gonna be swayed by not giving.
I think I'm gonna give it to Shona. I was just so pleased that Shona got, a top billing almost for the week.
Yeah, good.
She's been sidelined for so long, and she was a main character. I loved her kicking off at the prison. I loved the fire between her and David. I love the mystery involving what she's got up to.
Yeah, you're kind of convincing me.
But no, you go for
I'm gonna stick with
Leanne.
Leanne.
I'll go for Shona. But yeah, fab week. Well done, Coronation Street. Long may it continue. You don't need to bring some of these other stories back into the forefront for the time being. Let's keep these ones going, I say.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if it was just this.
No, I wouldn't at all. Keep it going till Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.